Hello, welcome back to 950 Club Podcast, an anime and manga podcast. I am Jack.
I'm Edwin.
I'm Jamaal, and we have a very, very special guest with us today. Another installment of our 950 Club interview series. This will be number three for the year, and we are super excited about this one. We're definitely going to geek out. We have the wonderful, the talented, and the longevity of somebody that I think we would consider a legend, right? I think we
Yeah,
would consider him a legend. We have Jim Foronda with us today. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing fine. I think it's the first time anybody's considered me a legend. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be
You're,
here.
you're a legend to us.
Thank you.
So we usually start off with one question, but we're going to go with another one. So we recently interviewed Rebecca Chiara Marano, and at the end of our interview, we always ask people who should we interview next, and she suggested you.
Really?
Yes.
That's my gosh.
Yeah.
I need to thank her.
She suggested you. So, we just wanted to ask a little bit about like the friendship that you two share, and the feeling of like the camaraderie of somebody that's recommending you.
I I mean, I'm surprised that she recommended me because we're 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 friends, but it's like we're not like super duper close. We're not besties or anything. But I think it's
Mhm.
just the my experience with the VO community here. Folks have always been kind to me, and
Mhm.
but I had a day job for the first 10 years of my of voice acting. Voice acting was something I did on the side, and I always kind of felt like I'm the weekend warrior, working 60,
Mhm.
70 hours a week and maybe taking a long lunch to record an anime. And I always felt like an outsider. And it was after I got laid off in 2013. um there's a whole influx of like you know newer younger actors that um some half my age, but it's like it's like I'm accepted into the fold that way, even though I've been doing it for a while. It's like I still felt new since I was full
Mhm.
time. And it was just it's a nice community, and it's like I'm just glad Rebecca thought of me.
Yeah. This.
I seriously, I had to take her. It's like, oh, I was on 950. Thank you so much for recommending me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we've all kind of experienced the effect of layoff. So that's
Yeah.
not easy, but congratulations on being able to make this a full-time gig.
It
Because
was absolutely terrifying because I've been working at the same agency, different divisions of the same agency for man since '98, and got laid off in 2013. And it was just, and I used to write commercials for Hasbro toys. I'd written for like Eye Vision Care, some stuff for Electronic Arts, the Play label, not the super duper cool stuff. But I mean, it's still fun.
Yeah.
The boom blocks and my Sims, that type of thing. And I'd written stuff for Nokia and everything. But man, as soon as you say, "Yeah, I wrote for a toy company," everybody think it's like you're a pariah. If they think that's the only thing you can do, and it's like
Mm.
I wrote a business prospectus for a vision care company. I could do other things, but you wrote for toys. That means you suck. It's and it was I could not get a job at another agency, so it's like I thought I'm gonna go I'm gonna go VO full time, and I did freelance for advertising and stuff on the
Mm.
side until VO picked up to where I just it was it, I will still do. I'll help out like old colleagues if they need help.
Mm.
I helped a friend out on a Johnston's catalog. Like,
Okay.
hey, grad,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm.
beat the summer heat in this visor with splash of whatever on it. It's just that kind of hokey sort of. And that wasn't even writing it; it was just like copy editing on it. And it's like, yeah, I'll do
Mm.
that for a few hours. Yeah. So Rambling. I said I was going to ramble.
No, that's all right.
Perfectly all right. Yep.
That is interesting. Like we were going to dive into your like ad background because I
Oh,
think
cool.
that's like
I'm happy to do that.
incredibly interesting. And like you can't see any of our figures here, but my collection isn't near as vast as Jack and Edwin's. And talking about toys is something that we've done a lot. So how was it to work in the industry? And even though you kind of like you say, you were kind of like a pariah for writing for toys, I think that's like the coolest thing in the world because
And,
we
it.
all think of like
The
those
golden age.
ads
Yeah, the
when we
golden
were
age.
watching when we were kids with like the
Yeah.
GI Joes and everything. And it's like, how is that? That's so cool.
Okay, so the days before YouTube, when we first
Mhm.
started working with Hasbro in 2001, our chief creative officer, he had actually worked with Hasbro a little bit in the past when he was friends with somebody there, and he said, "Hey, um, give us a test job, a GI Joe test job." And so when I was brought into it because I was considered the fun writer, I was like the one person in the agency that had like a shit ton of toys lining the top of my cube. And yeah, so they brought me on. And one of the coolest things was I was sent home with two video cassettes of every GI Joe commercial ever made, starting in like the 1954, America's
Wow.
movable fighting man, all the
Uh-huh.
way to, I mean, all the way up to GI Joe Extreme, which is what nobody wanted after Real American Hero kind of like died
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But I mean, it's crazy because as soon as those, the Marvel Comics commercials that had the jingles about it was the Tomax and Zaymot, the up to now Joe's had it easy when
Uh-huh.
about the Crimson Guard, and it's
Mhm.
every jingle. It's like my brain fired up and I remembered every single one. And I hadn't seen
Mm.
them in like, geez, like
Yeah.
20 years. It's crazy. But yeah, that was like, how did I get here? When but then they loved the work that we did on Joe, and other brand teams were like, "Hey, can we get some of that?" And we ended up becoming agency of record for Hasbro toys and games. We did the majority of the toys. We had a New York office that we opened up for the business for games. And there
Mhm.
was some crossover, like Tiger Electronics. A lot of that was done in both agencies, but man, it's like when Zoids came through and they said we're bringing back Zoids. I'm like, I have to work on that. I told my boss I will give up these other things that I work on. I have to work on Zoids. And yeah, I'm proud to say I all those Zoids commercials from the early 2000s, man. Beyblade. I wrote the first Beyblade commercial for North America. I'm
Oh
very proud of
wow.
that too. Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy because you get to work on all this stuff. And the one thing I always tell people, the best thing about that job, short of the medical benefits, was every year Hasbro would ask their vendors, like their law firm, their PR people, the hey, who wants to help out at our booth at San Diego Comic Con? We'll get you like a full pass. And then my company, they paid for like the hotel rooms and the
Mhm.
flights because we would do like some presentations and stuff while we were there. And then we'd work 4-hour shifts. I was like basically unpacking boxes for Hasbro Toy Shop. Um, I'm amazed that I did it for like 9 years. I never cut myself. But because it's like there's like slice that down, fold these boxes down,
Yeah.
put them in the bin, put them in the back, and
Oh yeah.
but free trip to San Diego Comic Con for 9 years. Yeah,
Wow.
4-hour shifts. The rest of your day is off, and you have just full run, and you'd have like client dinners and everything like that. But it's a lot of our clients were pretty cool. They were fun to hang out with, but I miss that. I miss that.
That's a
It's,
dream,
it's
man.
like I
That
offered
is a
That
Sergeant
is a
dream.
Slaughter.
dream.
I offered Sergeant Slaughter some hand sanitizer when he came upstairs from
Really?
signing. Yeah, and man, that
That's
dude's
cool.
huge, friendly guy, super cool.
Really?
Um,
See, that's
it's like a
awesome to hear because we do some wrestling. Jack and I do some wrestling content too.
oh
So to
wow.
hear, we weren't expecting the Sergeant Slaughter story,
Yeah.
but that's cool.
I
It's
just
still
it was. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, no. It's one of our earliest memories. That's commercials for sure, especially as
Yeah,
Sergeant Slaughter, that the
Yeah,
tallest man in the world for these
yeah.
random soldier toys.
I know it's crazy because like he came up and he was signing and he had his lunch break and he was looking around and he was trying to find. I think he was trying to find hand sanitizer because like up in the I guess the upper office of that Hasbro booth in the
Hmm.
middle, and he was like looking at his hands, and I just said, is a hand sanitizer, Sarge? And it was just I said Sarge, like he was like somebody I've known because I mean we all kind of knew him,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
kids, right? And he's like, oh, thanks. And it was just, but then he squirts like half the bottle out, and but it's like, you know what? If I got to give up a half a bottle of hand sanitizer for Sergeant Slaughter, I'm willing to do that. It was cool.
Yeah, you got to do it because Vince McMahon wasn't giving him any.
Yeah,
So,
that whole controversy because
uh,
he didn't get that contract, and
yeah,
he wanted to do the show. So yeah, it's one of the first early stars having their own contracts in wrestling.
yeah, yeah. That's crazy. Is there like you talked about like the Beyblade and
Yeah.
Zoids? Was there a favorite campaign that you worked on, or any favorites?
Oh man, there's a lot of good stories of wh- when it was fun. When it was
Mm,
fun, great stuff. I loved working on Transformers. One of the things is that Hasbro would send out freelance engineers to sets to make sure that the products were posed correctly. Toy techs they were called, and
mm,
sometimes like the freelancers wouldn't like they would transform things wrong, and I would basically go up and I would fix everything. And they would pose them like this, and
mm.
I would give them a more dynamic pose to
Yeah.
the point where like the brand managers that were on set were just like, "Oh, just have Jim do it." So became like the writer, and I was also like the toy tech. It was
Yeah.
and for example, all those Zoids commercials for the early 2000s, every Zoid you see on screen, I built. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I fun story. I for this gosh, it's the second commercial we did. I logged 27 hours building Zoids because the camera's like right on them. So I'm trimming down the
Mm,
decals. I'm filing down the flash so they look perfect on screen. Couldn't panel line anything simply because it has to be built with what you get in the box.
mm,
So and in a big box it says hero product, meaning this is what we're going to be showing in close-ups. Do not touch until day of shoot. So on the day of shooting, I get there and like these two guys in the art department, I'm like, hey, where are the Zoids? He goes, oh, we busted those down for parts for the. I'm like, because they're building Zoids and they're doing a shit job. They're just like they're snapping the pieces off. There's like flash sticking all over the place. The
mm.
decals are crooked. I'm like, where are the ones that the hero product? And it's like, oh yeah, for background setup, we just broke them down. I was livid, and it was like, and they thought I was overreacting, and it's like and I was just like, guys, I said, I was just scoot over. I will do this. And I basically rebuilt a whole new set of them super fast. Um, but yeah, it's like they're like, yeah, we can't get them to run right. I'm like, yeah, because you're not putting them together properly. And like, because they turn them on and they're just going in circles and they're falling apart like a dollar watch. It's because you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. Anyway, I was, oh,
I can, I, can- I can
I'm
tell
getting
that's a
angry just
painful
thinking about it.
memory.
I should not have told that
Yeah.
story.
I
Ah,
can tell that's a
anyway,
painful memory.
I mean, I loved the work. I loved, we all grew up on those commercials
Yeah.
in the 80s and
Yeah.
90s. I don't know how old everybody is. Jack, you look probably about the same age as me, similar. 80s, right?
Yep, yep.
Hmm.
Okay, all
Late
right,
late
yeah, yeah, yeah,
'80s.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's like, uh, I the thing that set me on this path as a child, I'm thinking maybe in the early 2000s there's a little me out there who just is enthralled by these commercials and just loves the worlds that we've like assisted in creating with the commercials that we made. And it's like to be that little sliver of pop culture history is just it's kind of nice to it's like a vicious cycle. Those commercials set
Hmm.
me on the path to make my own commercials for the very same thing. So yeah, Transformers, God, I loved working on that, and it's yeah, it was fun until it wasn't. There
Hmm.
are some people that were put in charge of things that were just horrible to work with, and
Yeah, we know how
and
that
it,
goes.
and it just
Oh
made
yeah.
it miserable. It's like they promoted the wrong people, and it's like,
Hmm.
and it's
Mm.
in my opinion, um, and it's like, yeah, and then somebody came in and they said, you know what? I like that old agency we had, and after working with them for like 13 years, the agency loose, and they were like our largest client, so like almost everybody got laid off.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. But it led you to where you are today. So
Yeah, if it wasn't for that, I would not be here.
yeah, definitely. So you talked about building the Zoids. You're a
Yeah.
Legos fan too, right?
Yes, I am.
So what are some of the your favorite Legos that you boxed sets that you've gotten and put together?
Oh gosh. Okay, so in recent history, because uh I will say my favorite as a kid, I had that Galaxy Explorer, the blue and yellow ship.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Mhm.
loved
Yeah.
Lego Space.
I
You
had a
know,
friend that
Everybody
had that
loved
one.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like the packaging where they used to have like we're gonna copy NASA. Where it's like there's like zero fill light because
Yeah.
there's nothing to reflect light in space, so it's like all those harsh shadows and everything. And when they did that anniversary Galaxy Explorer, I remember it was there's a Lego store at a Mills Mall near Crunchyroll.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like after a session, it's like I'm heading out there to pick that up. And I actually, it's funny. It's like I would leave Crunchyroll. I'm gonna get that big DeLorean time machine. It's yeah, there are a few still sets that I haven't built because I have nowhere to put them. Um,
Mhm.
so it's like yeah, I still haven't built the Game Boy. I've got
Oh
the
yeah.
God, the
That's a cool one.
You
Yeah.
have to put the you have
hmm?
to put that Game Boy together
Yeah.
because it has a little bit of functionality to it, and it will blow your mind. You will be so happy. Like the switches work, and the little buttons on the side or the buttons on the front are rubbery, so you can push them down. You can take the cartridges and put
Cartridges
them
in
in
and
and
out.
out.
Yeah.
Oh
I,
man,
I
yeah,
I was looking,
you're
and
gonna
it's
love
like
that
when you
Mhm.
one.
when you put it together, you actually put like the board. You actually build like the board on the inside of it.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
it
and
is.
stuff like
Yeah,
that is just a lot of details like that. Like even you can't even
yeah,
see it when it's put together, but you know it's there because you built it.
Mhm.
yeah.
Um, you know
It's it's
the
it's
um
that's a great build.
the um the Lego Spaceman I really really want to get as well. The big blue spaceman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. It's like why are you buying that? Okay, so we get groceries at Aldi, because it's
Yeah.
and so there's the stuff aisle at Aldi, and I'm looking and they have like third party brick and it's an Aldi
Mhm.
store, not Lego set. But I'm thinking, son of a bitch, I have to get that. My wife's like, why did you buy that? I'm like, it's Aldi. It's
It's Aldi. How
fun.
can you not
It's
buy
like
it? Aldi has that magical draw. Like
yeah. It's like
everything looks better at Aldi.
I'm telling you, it's the stores that we shop at here. They've got the best produce, so it's like you
Mhm.
know,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So
They definitely do. Like
yeah.
we go to Aldi like at least once a week.
Mhm.
Perfect
What
for
were
And
kid
some of
Kim,
toys.
right?
you have the Transformer Legos.
I
Is the
okay.
question?
I did not get the Optimus Prime. Okay, do you remember Transformers, the Creo Transformers, those Chunkosauruses that were like horribly designed? Those
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Mm.
my
It's
god.
now the
That's
bricks,
specific.
yeah, it's they licensed a really good third party brick. Like
Mhm.
the clutch factor on those bricks were really good. But the thing is the designs, the actual models were terrible. And another thing, they wouldn't build transforming models because apparently there's an agreement, like the brand teams were like, okay, you can make Transformers buildable kits, but don't make them transform because that's going to take away from like from our products. And it's like, yeah, so that's the
Okay.
reason
Yeah.
why you could take them apart and build a vehicle mode, but that's why you couldn't actually build transforming ones. And then I remember the day I saw the Lego Optimus Prime. I literally forwarded it to all of my coworkers. I still play tabletop with like there's a few friends that coworkers that we and we're 7 games into Risk
Mhm.
Legacy, we and I'm like, you guys, look at this, and they were just, damn. I didn't get Optimus and I didn't get Bumblebee, but I did get Soundwave. Soundwave is what broke me. I'm
Yes.
like, I'm spending
Yeah.
the money on that.
Yeah.
It's got Frank Welker's voice in it, so it's like,
Yes.
yeah,
You're like, I
And
have to get this. Yeah.
you can play a tape on it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Again, one that I have not built yet. I have a building
Mhm.
backlog. It's terrible.
Oh yeah, we all do.
That's it.
We all do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we have figures that we have to store somewhere else. That is
yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's like I've got a competing backlog: Lego or Gundam. Lego,
Yeah.
Gundam.
Yes.
Oh, you're into
Yeah.
Gundam too. There's a store here in Chicago you would absolutely love.
Right across
Not the,
from
Oh,
Hmm.
there's a
not the
yeah,
Gundam base in
Marano.
Chicago, isn't
Yeah.
there?
the
Yes.
first
Huh?
one,
Yeah. Fresh. It's new.
Oh yeah,
Brand
Yeah,
new.
yeah,
damn.
the
they
new
did.
the new base, yeah, the only base in North America.
Mm.
Yeah.
Didn't they just build one in LA though? I think they just opened one in LA.
Okay,
I
then
think
we're the
they
They
first.
did.
did.
I
I
think
think they
so.
did.
I think I did hear that
Um,
they got one in LA.
yeah, which is oh yeah, well, they did because it was right around when I was at BNEA to do the Gundam Breaker stream.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Look at that.
Perfect
Look
timing.
at that. That's cool. See,
Yeah,
you know,
they're like, yeah, if you had more time, we'd take you out to Gundam Base. I'm like, oh man.
don't worry about it. You know, you're a friend of ours now, so we're going to submit your name to every convention here, and you'll make it there.
I would love
I
that.
promise you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you.
it's in Rosemont, and we're
Hmm.
Fan Expo and Anime Central and Anime Midwest are at.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a soul crushing experience at Gundam Base Odaiba on our trip to Japan in last March, and it was like uh had a day planned, got up early, went out to Odaiba, and it was the first day, it was the only day up until that point where it apparently it was a school holiday and I wasn't unaware of that.
Mm.
And it was by reservation only.
Oh
And
no.
yeah.
Oh,
Ooh,
And
yeah.
it's like, and after waiting for so long, and I never do this. I never do this because I don't like to I don't do the do you know who I am? I never do that because it's just I don't
Mm.
know. It's kind of it's like
It's
that's one
like
step away.
trying, yeah, it's try and get a ticket out of a ticket kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like one step away from throwing a phone at a hotel concierge because something went wrong. You know
oh,
what I mean? It's
Mm.
it's so I thought, okay, I'm gonna try it. And so and the little Japanese that I knew, I tried to say, hey, I'm one of the voice actors in the Gundam Breaker video game.
Gundam,
Yeah,
Gundam.
yeah.
Mm.
Is there any way you could and it's again the little Japanese that I was able to say. And he responds in English. He's like, "I'm sorry, no voice actors are appearing today." So he was asked. He didn't understand what I was trying to say. He thought I was
Mhm.
asking if there were voice actors
Right.
there, and it was like, I'm like, "Oh man."
oh.
That's good.
So
Nani.
yeah. So later on in the trip, I went back and I thought, oh, I'll go in the afternoon. I get there, these
Mm.
shelves are bare except for like the classic stuff. Like all the shelves
Mm.
were bare.
Wow.
And at least I got to recycle my runners. I was like so proud of myself. I brought all of my collected runners over like the year, and I packed them in my suitcase to send them back home so they could be made into other Gundam. But I ended up spending it. I always have an Akihabara day. My wife she likes to go do we split up and we do like she likes visiting Asakusa and some of the parks and stuff, which I like doing.
Mm.
But it's like I I visit Akihabara very efficiently. It's like I have a plan. I have my shopping plan. I have this list. I'm going to Tam Tam. I'm going here. I'm going. And I found this one Gundam store. It was basically it was resale. So, people have their
Mhm.
backlogs, and so they
Right.
just and it's on the sixth floor of the old Gigo building where there's the Sega Gigo, which is now a Bandai Namco arcade.
Yes,
The
yes.
elevator's like the elevator only goes up to five, but there's supposed to be a sixth floor here. So there's another set of elevators like around the corner that's the only one that goes up to the sixth floor, and a second staircase that goes up and down. And it's the most amazing shop on the sixth floor there. And they had the exact thing that I was looking for, the Verka MG ball, but even better, it was the clear one. And it was like and the dollar to yen exchange, I ended up coming home with like a ton of kits for just over $100. Like
Oh wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it was the like the the action figure standard uh the what do they call it? Action Rise stand. The figure sets that Bandai makes, the
Mhm.
of the Shin Kamen Rider.
Okay, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Fifty
Yeah.
yes,
dollars here, right?
yes,
Mhm.
At Yodobashi Camera, it was 1,950 yen. And then with the dollar to yen exchange, that was like $12.
yeah. And you don't have to worry about
Wow.
importing. You
Mhm.
don't have to,
Yeah.
it's just like you did it yourself. You're here.
Yeah.
You bring it
I
back.
I ended up getting kits too that like there was like this it was like some girl gun show, like a girl tokusatsu show. It was like girl gun something or other. And they made like full-size transforming versions of the weapons in the show that they carry, and then you could get like little action figure versions of the tokusatsu women and actually
Mhm.
put them in the. But I was looking at these and I thought, man, what if Gearbox did this for like some of the cool weapons at Borderlands 4? And I'm like, I'm sending it. I'm friends with like the merchandise person there. It's every Borderlands game. I'm like, huh?
I got an idea.
Hey,
MG claptrap, master grade claptrap, huh?
Right.
Real grade maybe? And they're always like, that would be really cool. And I don't know. It's like I don't know if like they've ever gone and thought about it, but man, I would love something like that.
That would be
Ah.
incredible.
Hmm.
That would be incredible. And they have somebody that could advertise it too.
Yes,
So it's like,
yes.
oh, it's all right
there you
there.
go. All in one, right?
Related.
Yeah.
I'm
I'd do a whole
feeding you
series
this so
building
great thing.
building him. Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be great.
It's like its own YouTube channel. Claptrap is
yeah.
building some mechs.
Someday,
Mm,
someday it's going to happen. I hope.
someday.
I hope. I hope and hope and hope that it will. That and the
So
claptrap Nendoroid. God, I would kill for a Nendoroid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
surprised
like
there
the.
hasn't been one.
It's funny. When the Tiny Tina Nendoroid came out,
Mhm.
I thought, we're almost there. We're almost there.
Yeah.
Everybody buy Tina so they make a claptrap, maybe. But nah, I don't know.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't had one either because Claptrap is incredibly popular.
He
So
is. It's
yeah.
a fun bit of trivia. Takado Atagi, I think I think I got his first name right.
Mhm.
The Japanese voice of Claptrap is the original voice of Vanderdecken in One Piece, who I
Oh,
dub
okay.
into
Wow.
English. So
That
it's kind
is
of like
small world.
full circle moment.
This Sharkman
Yeah.
steward bot handshake where I dub him and he dubs me. Yeah. I would love to meet him someday just to do a high five, a
That'll be
handshake, a
cool.
nice bow, very polite. Hajime that whole thing.
Mhm.
That'd be cool.
That would be super cool. Um. Okay, so another thing that you're into like video games and board games, right?
Yes, I am.
So what are your favorite board? Because Edwin is like a board game connoisseur.
all of them. He's played all of
Like
them. Yeah.
he's good. He will go to conventions and specifically seeks out board games to get. So like, what are some of your favorite board games?
I really like abstracts. I will Terrace is going to be one of my all-time favorites. I discovered it like on Star Trek Next Gen like years and years and years ago. Because I'm like, what? And when I found out that's a real game,
Okay.
and um, golly, you know, it's hard to pick favorites. I will say I'm very fond specifically of Risk Legacy because we've been, my friends and I have been playing like the same game for we're 7 games in. We didn't play during the pandemic, but it's like it's been 10 years now we've been playing that same game. Um
Wow.
and
I love Risk. Yeah, Risk is awesome.
yeah, have you played Risk Legacy?
Not Legacy, but I know the
Oh
setup of Legacy. Yeah,
man, it's
yeah.
just and man, it's like the first time somebody sets off a nuclear bomb, this thing, I'm not spoiling it, but it was like, I'm sorry, what? It's just those big envelopes when you finally open them and it just throws like a wrench in everything that you've been playing up until then. It's yeah, there's some fun stuff that happens in there. Um uh, Last Night on Earth was a fun one, and it was like it's the zombie game. There's
Mhm.
so many. I believe it's the correct one. There's like the jock, and then there's like the local priest, and so what things that we somehow started doing is that we would basically play in character, like whoever and it was just like
Like your
That
own
sounds
Left
like
4 Dead.
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's oh man, Left for Dead.
that's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites. When you said zombies, you kind of had me. So
Yeah. Your
definitely.
own ragtag team. Oh, the beauty of that script.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a guy in our group. He's a dad now, so it's like it's so hard to and we all like live scattered across like the DFW Metroplex, so
Mhm.
it's really hard to like get together because
Yeah.
everybody's schedules are so crazy. I do play D&D with friends every Sunday on Discord though, so that's fun.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
There you
cool.
go.
we've been doing that for 10 years now. When your DM is a video game writer, stuff gets crazy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I can only
that's got to be a
imagine.
lot of fun though.
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
It's fun.
yeah. I've been playing Star Wars Outer Rim. I love those. I love the Horrified series. I don't know if you've played those, Jim.
I have
Uh,
one that is in my
yeah,
closet. I just it's yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm gonna get this game. We're gonna play it someday, and it's like because like I've played
yeah,
it with friends, and it's getting old sucks because it's like everybody's working and you hardly have time to
Hmm.
get together anymore. You know, it's just
Yeah.
yeah. Well, now I do this thing where I check the box to see if I can do solo play. Uh, and I'm like, okay, I can do this on my own
mm,
or with a group. So I'm like, all right, I can still enjoy the game without having to like schedule everybody 3 months in advance, just so we'd be like, all right, 3 months from now we're playing this game.
Hmm.
Remember that?
oh, another favorite. It's an old Carcassonne. I love Carcassonne. I love it.
Oh,
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, I like abstracts. They're just it's the I'm gonna place this thing here and this shape here and do whatever. And yeah, it's
Build your own game. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the creativity that it takes to play those games, and it's just crazy, like just how time evolves. And
Mm,
that used to be the thing when we were younger. Like you break out a board game, and that's what you did all day.
yeah.
And it's like you said, now that we're older, like we used to record like in person all the time, but then
Yeah.
life gets crazy, so we've kind of had to transition to Zoom. So it's different. It's like now it's like everything's on Discord, or it's still like we're scheduled that. All right, when are we going to play Borderlands, guys? Everybody got the game. All right,
Yeah.
six
All right,
o'clock.
now we need to find the
Uh,
time.
Yeah, now we gotta find
Yeah.
a time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just kind of evolved into that. But you kind of miss that in person thing. But I'm glad that we have that like online option to where you can still kind of
Yeah.
hang out. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it was man. It was a lifesaver during the pandemic. I mean, we did
Mhm.
a whole campaign over the pandemic when we couldn't like meet up in person anymore, and it was just it was the way you could see people when you couldn't see people. You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
A new form. Like I
Yeah.
remember getting my friends into uh the Jack games, it's kind of like back to form. Like, oh, I used to play this, when I was 13 years old in the basement. It was that
Mhm.
let's do it together kind of feeling. So,
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta ask you about this because my baby would be mad if I didn't.
Sure.
You did some work with Mickey Mouse, like
Wh- Uh,
like little shorts or something.
okay. All right. Are you talking about the Star Wars Go Rogue shorts for Rogue Squad for
You did that,
Rogue
yes,
One?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, apparently this was, and it's funny because it was the first time I'd worked for Hasbro, in years, technically. Yeah, it was this joint advertising and marketing program with Hasbro, Lego, and Funko, like all of them together.
Mhm.
And oh shoot, one of the directors of Robot Chicken was the animator on it,
oh, no kidding.
and yeah, and we recorded it at Chris Sabbath's studio, Okratron, and
Okay.
yeah, I was the stormtrooper commander and a bunch of other stormtroopers. Um, it was a lot of fun. It's great because I'm a Kenner figure, like the 3 3/4 inch figure for like the first two episodes, and then inexplicably the third episode I'm a minifigure, same character. In the second episodes, Krennic is I think he's a Funko Pop in the first episode, and then he's a Hasbro figure in the second episode. And my character's like, "You look different. Did you change your hairstyle? Is that a new cape?" I'm also TKXXL, who is like one of those giant figures, one of the 2 foot tall, like severely limited posing figures. But then he was like the same scale to everybody else, and it was just, oh, that was funny. They wanted me to have my voice as deep and as low as possible, and I spent it was a total of 45 minutes saying, "Don't move, rebel scum." Just a bunch of ways possible until the audio engineer explained to them, we can slow this down. We can pitch this down to where it has that giant sound. I don't know if they thought that any of us could actually make that sound
Uh,
because you can only the voice can only go so deep. It's but it ended up I was really proud of that, and I was hoping, hey, I'm on Lucasfilm's radar now. Sadly, I was not.
But you still did something
No.
adjacent to it,
I did.
and
I was in an
that's
official
awesome.
Star Wars piece of entertainment, so that makes me happy. That's why I've got that Lego Stormtrooper Commander on my
Yeah.
business card and on my convention banner.
and you have a
Very proud
pass
of
There you
that.
go.
to you have a pass to Skywalker Farm, Skywalker Ranch.
Oh, oh, in my it okay, so the whole reason why I ended up here in Dallas advertising wise was because for the big Pizza Hut Taco Bell Tricon Star Wars Episode 1 thing, right?
Hmm.
Mm,
So Pizza Hut was like our agency had Pizza Hut, and so we did that arm of that big present. So I replaced writer who thought it would be a good idea to photocopy pages out of like the story writers Bible that we got from Lucasfilm,
Oh.
and then try to sell them at a local convention. Unfortunately, the person that he tried to sell them to actually had a friend who worked at Industrial Light and Magic. So that guy got super fired. I don't know if they pressed charges or if they like they there was any like legal things that happened, but he got super
mhm.
fired, and I replaced him, which is why when I
Wow.
have an NDA, I follow that NDA religiously
Yes.
because I
To
like
the
working.
T, to the T.
So 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 I'm this story's went winding on. I'm sorry. Okay, so
That's
um
okay. It's fascinating.
the other writer who was with me, it's like, okay, somebody needs to go to Skywalker Ranch and read the script. We flipped a coin because he was also a huge Star Wars fan. He had a brown Labrador named Chewbacca, right? Um, I lost that coin flip, and I was crushed.
Mm,
Uh,
But fast forward to the Clone Wars movie that was originally going to be 3 episodes, and they said we're going to release it in theaters. We can't send it to you folks to do the toy commercials. You're just gonna have to come to Skywalker Ranch. And actually, no,
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 uh,
they
not
do that.
Skywalker Ranch. They flew us out to the Presidio because in between when Lucasfilm bought the Presidio from the U.S. Navy, and they
Mm,
Oh,
built the entire Lucasfilm complex out there. And so we got
yes.
to go out there, get pictures in front of the Yoda fountain. We had to surrender our cameras. But then it's like, we're watching the show, we're watching the movie and everything. And my boss, he's like, is there like a gift shop to where we could get these Lucasfilm coasters or something? And then our handler, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take you there. You know what? We'll take a shortcut through Industrial Light and Magic." And I swear, all three of us proverbially crapped our pants. And it was
Yeah.
like, and we're walking through, and you're walking down this hallway, and there's matte paintings, the full size matte paintings. It's like, oh
mm,
man, those are the planes on the tarmac at the end of Die Hard 2. Oh, that's the view of the valley in the neighborhood, and when ET goes over the and the our handler, she's like, "Wow, you really know your stuff." And our account service person, she said, "Oh my God, you have no idea." They had some of the flying car models from Back to the Future, and then you walk into this
mm,
room. There's one of the full size Vigo the Carpathian paintings. There's the Scarpelli brothers in their animatronics in their electric chairs. Then
Wow.
there's the Slimer, who I guess they had preserved in like this museum case so the latex wouldn't deteriorate. Just the latex shell, and then mirrored over on the other side was the animatronic skeleton that was underneath that, and it was like it was amazing. It was oh man, that was
And that's like 1% of like what you saw. Imagine like what
yeah.
else was behind it.
totally
Yeah.
totally. I mean, it was just
Jim was
see
living the dream.
working for
Yeah.
Hasbro. It had its perks. But by the time he got laid off, that was probably the best thing to happen because it ended up becoming just kind of miserable.
Mm,
But yeah, but there was, I loved my coworkers, working with people. They were great. They were friends that I had at Hasbro, the cool people. And
mm.
yeah, so I missed that. I missed the fun part of it. Um, but yeah, man, the grind got really bad. So
Yes.
Man, I can't. Here's interesting. So since you've done so much like work with writing, do you have any desire to do that with anime, like with scripts or adapting or anything?
I there was, gosh, man, at one point in time, I thought I'm gonna try. They had it was like a you could try adapting scripts, and
Mm,
I applied to do that. I did my best at it, and I was not selected. I wonder. It's I guess the way I had written it was I don't know. I don't know why. It's I
mm,
maybe my lip flap matching was not close enough, or I don't know who was like overseeing that, but I do have a novel that I think I will probably never ever ever finish. But yeah, it's I keep changing it, and so
yeah, the Great American Novel. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
One of my coworkers, man, he's literally living just writing books now.
Mm.
Yeah, he's kind of jealous.
You know what, man? Sometimes we could be our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And you just keep writing the stuff, and just at some point, you'll know when it's ready. You'll know
Yeah,
when it's ready.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I have author friends that'll I'll say, what do you think about this? Should I change it? What should I, so I have resources now that will
Mm,
help guide me to mentor me through it. So
You ever
yeah.
read John Dies at the End?
I have not. I've heard about it.
Yeah,
It was made
because
into a movie too, wasn't it?
yeah, in some
Yeah.
Yeah,
form.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the alias
it
of
was.
the author, the real name his name is Jason Pargin. Lately,
Hmm.
he's been like all over the place, like doing these viral TikTok videos, and he started off, he did crack.com things like that. But
Yeah.
you have that bounce back energy with that. At least like your small little window of time where like the creativity fills through the astronomical numbers, and
Yeah.
that's a smaller and smaller window by the day. So your
Mm.
outlook on that would be awesome, or your perspective on paper.
Oh, I really
Yeah.
should. I really should do that. I should just buckle down and finish it.
Yeah,
just put it out there. At least shop it around. See if anybody bites. Then at least you'll have some direct, like, okay, I'm this is good. This is working. You know, we'll read it. We'll buy it. We'll read it.
Yep.
I
You
appreciate
know,
it. Thank you.
we still got
Yep.
connections in the bookstores and O'Hare. We'll get it in there. We'll get it in
Yep.
there. Um, let's talk about Claptrap.
Okay.
Okay, so Borderlands is for sure one of our favorite games, and when I sent the message out to Edwin, like, hey, this is who we got, he totally freaked out.
Yeah,
Like, he freaked
that was
out.
one of my yeah.
And so, again, from us working in the airport, we're kind of like used to seeing like celebrities and everything. So
Mhm.
you don't really get that reaction often. So like you got that pop from him.
I thank you.
And it is because you're working with that character. So like what is it like to voice Claptrap? Because he's such a fun character.
Yeah,
Well,
like when you get the scripts, like, do you laugh because it's hilarious? I mean,
yeah, okay. All right. So let me the Claptrap story, because y'all know I'm not the original Claptrap.
Right. Hmm.
David Eddings is I call David Eddings is the I put it in James Bond terms. He is the Sean Connery Claptrap.
yeah.
Okay.
He originated the role.
Mm.
And Mikey Newman was Sean Connery for one PAX presentation, so he's the George Lazenby Claptrap. That makes me the Roger Moore Claptrap, and I grew up on Roger Moore, and so I'm
Mm.
perfectly happy being Roger Moore Claptrap. Yeah, it's first time I ever worked with Gearbox, I was multiplayer character A in the second Brothers in Arms game. I can't remember if that was Road to Hill
Okay.
30 or Health Highway. I
That
get
was
the
a fun
subtitles
game.
mixed up.
Yeah.
And in the my first time in Borderlands was in Zombie Island of Dr. Ned, the
Mm.
DLC, and then Secret Armory of General Knox. That was a bunch of different characters in that, Echoes and stuff like that.
Mm.
Then in Borderlands 2, I was a bunch of characters in there. I became the voice of the Doll Corporation. Technically, I was also the voice of the Jacobs vending machine, that glitched Jacobs vending machine in Zombie Island that worked only once.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, um, the and let's see. So then pre-sequel, I was, switching to crappy backup power for the Doll
Mm.
Corporation. And then yeah. I ended up working on Battleborn, a game I loved
Yeah,
that very few people played.
yeah.
But
I played
the
it. We were just
did
talking about that
Yeah,
before
we
we
were.
Oh my
started
God, thank you
recording.
so much. Oh
Yep.
man, I platinum Battleborn. I loved that game. But yeah, I worked on that for 2.5 years. It was the first time I was ever a playable
Wow.
character.
Yeah.
Um, and so did you like you play Battleborn a lot? Like did you have a favorite character and stuff or
I
I'm curious.
didn't. I played it when it came out, and I played it
Yeah.
for a while.
You
But it
it will
was
not hurt my feelings if you didn't. It's okay.
no. It's just that
Yeah.
like it was hard to like get people to play,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everybody was switching over to Overwatch, and so it's like it just kind of felt like okay, this isn't going to get the love that Overwatch is getting, and it was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
really sad.
The
I
precursor,
really like
yeah.
the steampunk clockwork guy. Uh,
Marquis. Yes.
hmm Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I was Oscar
It was
Mike.
a great game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was, it just, it had a very dedicated, a very small dedicated community. And that was actually, it was kind of nice because it was the first time I ever had fans. And it was really, because I didn't know how to, I was just like playing with folks and like, hey, do you want to play Battleborn? Yeah, I'd love to play Battleborn. And it was like, and I was just like play with people, and these people that I guess technically were fans have become friends because I played the game with them. I still
Hmm.
like some of them ended up actually working at Gearbox, in concept art.
Hmm.
Um, one person actually started programming for it, did like the Twitch
Oh
integration for like the
wow.
last three games. It's
Wow.
anyway, it's yeah, and but had it not been for Battleborn. I don't think they ever even would have considered me or even thought about me for Claptrap because the auditions it was very closed. And I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do my best. And then I did a read, didn't hear back for a couple months. Then it came back and it's like, okay, here's this, change this and do this and try reading it this way. So I did that again, another few months. Then like a third round came through and they said, read these and with more direction. And so yeah, 7 months long this audition
Wow.
process. And
Wow.
then one day I get a text message from a friend on the narrative team, and he's like, "Hey, we played your audition for Pitchford today," um, and that was his text.
Mhm.
And son of a bitch, if he wasn't just going and like doesn't text and doesn't, I'm like, Sam,
Okay.
what
Yeah.
happened? What happened? Oh my God, don't do this! And then he said, "You're it." And yeah, it's like somebody asking you to be Batman because I was already a fan of the games,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's like, and it's just, and then it settled in. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to screw this up. And yeah, so the first time I did anything for Claptrap was for um that Commander Lilith and the Fight for Sanctuary DLC.
Hmm.
Okay.
And it was like they said try to sound as much like David as possible because we had to transition, you know. Um, And then, oh no, no, technically the first time was for Borderlands 2 VR, and I had to sound exactly like him because I had to say VR controller uh, tutorial stuff, which wasn't in the original,
Hmm.
and so they kind of like
Yeah.
spliced me in there with him. Then in Commander Lilith, they said, okay, it's 7 years later, um, you know, loosen up the mimicry, you know, and and then so again it was a little bit looser. And then when we did Borderlands 3, I was told don't worry so much about being about trying to sound like David, you must be Claptrap. So it's kind of like okay, and that made it a little bit easier. It was terrifying until the narrative lead he said if people hate you as Claptrap, you did a good job. If people love you as Claptrap, you did a good job. And so that paradox put me at ease. And yeah, from then on out, I was, Borderlands 3 and Fortnite. I was talking back bling in Fortnite. That was fun. I'm in a game
Yeah.
with John Wick and NFL and the Avengers and
Yes,
Darth
yes.
Vader. Um, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, Borderlands Pinball, one of the Zen pinball tables, Borderlands 4, the Red Door Canis's Laboratory escape room. If you go to Las Vegas and you do that escape room, Claptrap will help
Okay.
you whether you like it or not.
which he usually does. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Okay, we have to ask this question since you're a fan. What's the best Borderlands game?
Ah, for me, it's like I love the story, and I've learned to kind of look at it as one big long story. So
Okay.
now I kind of measure the games as how the gameplay feels, and because Handsome Jack is great, and Damian Clark is a super cool guy if you ever get a chance to meet him. Um, uh, but it's kind of like when you go back and you play like the it was very cutting edge, and it felt good for it when it came out, but it's like when you compare that to like modern FPSs today, it doesn't feel as smooth. And so
Hmm.
the gunplay in um pre-sequel, then to 3 and then to 4, it just and it just kept getting better and better. So gameplay wise, um I really like 3 and 4. A lot of people are mixed on the open world aspect of 4. I enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to the Mad Ellie DLC coming out. I That is something I try to avoid any knowledge of stuff that like I know things around Claptrap and my characters,
Hmm.
and I try to avoid anything other than that so I don't get spoiled for everything.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, So
That
yeah,
makes
so
sense.
I have no idea what is going to happen in Mad Ellie, but I'm looking forward to trying cash out. Another thing, I don't know if you guys know, in Borderlands 4, I'm also the Psychos now.
Okay,
Okay.
that's
Oh,
cool.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, it
That's
Yeah.
was.
awesome.
I went in every Friday and screamed and screamed and screamed. There,
Hmm.
there's there are two base cycles. There's me and there's another actor. I don't know who did it, who's like the base, but then I'm also the elemental psychos, the queen psychos, the mini ones, not the spider leg ones, not the splicers, but like the big ones. And yeah, it's funny because I the engineer told me at the end it was about 15,000 lines of dialogue,
Wow.
the psychos and claptrap, and a bunch of NPCs that I did as well. But
Wow.
and they trickle them out. I think some of the dialogue is like on a timer because you do hear a lot of repeats, but then um with the last story pack, every time there's a new story pack, I keep hearing new dialogue that I forgot that I recorded, that I did not hear playing through the main story. So I
Mm,
think they keep adding to the Psycho repertoire as they add I think that's how they're doing it. So
okay.
yeah.
Wow.
How
That's
taxing
impressive.
is it like vocally to like play the psychos?
Oh Lord. So the first time I went in, I got maybe 50 cues out until I was like, I had to stop. And uh, Bill McDonald, the director, he said, do not push yourself. We have almost 2 years to do this. I don't want you to destroy yourself. And one time he actually cut me off because I'm kind of a people pleaser. I'm like, I don't want
Mm.
to hold up the game or anything. And he's like, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. He goes, no, you are not. He literally said it like that. And it was just, he said, you know what? He's like, we're gonna call it a day, and I'm gonna give you let's take next week off as well. Because he's like, you have to stop. You have to stop because we don't want you to die, and it's and yeah, and but over time I was able to figure out a way to push it out without stressing it too much. Um, and I was able to get out anywhere from 100 to, depending how short the queues were, anywhere from 100 to 150 queues a session, um, in the last like 6 months of recording
Mm,
at that, around that
Wow.
time. Um, the it does a number on you.
I
I
can
bet.
imagine. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Like I lose my voice so easily these days that I couldn't even imagine having to play a psycho and do all that dialogue. No, oh
they were
boy.
they were so kind to they would have my sessions on Fridays
Mm,
because that would give me the weekend to do vocal rest and just not talk, and that helped a lot. It's like Fridays were for me and like whoever else was recording. So yeah.
mm.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Like I remember Gwen Stefani, she would actually have a sign that said "Don't speak." No joke. After her vocal resting days.
Yeah.
You have to, like, that's
Yeah,
legendary. Um, okay, so let's dive into like some anime stuff
sure. Yeah, I'd love to.
because our first question is usually what is your origin story into acting and to anime?
Oh gosh, my origin story.
Your
Um,
origin story.
okay. As a child, I was a little mimic. I mimicked like pretty much every cartoon character that I saw.
Mhm.
Um, Here it is years later. It's like, surprise, you have hyperempathy autism. Um, that explains a lot. But I was because of those character voices and stuff in kindergarten. There is this kindergarten play, The Giant's Garden, and because I was doing a rah voice, whatever kind
Mhm.
of raw voice you can get out of like a 5 year old. I was the giant. That was my first time acting in anything. So I did a lot of school plays, um, all the way up. And again, it's we're doing the Wizard of Oz. You're the cowardly lion. Yeah, and I was always getting like the wacky character roles and stuff. Um, and the friend student films in school.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just something I enjoyed doing. Performing was fun, but it wasn't like anything I realistically thought you could do for a living. It's like um and so working in advertising, uh, you'd present your concepts and stuff like that, and you'd read the scripts. And one day, sorry, I don't know if I
It's
picked that
okay.
up. Burp.
It's all right.
Yeah. There was a budgeting error on a GI Joe spot, and it turned out, oh, we can't use these union voice actors. Let's pay them their session fees, and we'll just have everybody from the ad agency turns in the booth and audition. And we didn't slate our names or anything. It was just pick who you want. And so Hasbro cast me as a British reporter, Cobra Commander, Duke, Destro, and Heavy Duty, which I kind of joke
Mhm.
around. I guess that was okay because I was the brownest person at the agency. Um, but yeah, I was the only brown person at the agency, really, at the time. Yeah, and that was my first time doing any voice acting. And then when they did the Valor versus Venom, on the air, I was Dr. Mindbender. Oh, yeah, they started using. I'll just use Foronda for it. Um, I no, it was when we did the Transformers movie 2 commercials, we were supposed to have
Mhm.
Peter Cullen, but the way we would literally record the audio, the VO, and then it would go on the air the following week. And then it's
Okay.
like, okay, getting ready to record Peter Cullen. Surprise, he's on a press junket for the movies overseas. So they just said, "Oh, just have Ferran do it." I'm like, I sound nothing like him. I sound like a bad imitation of Peter
Autobots
Cullen.
roll
But they,
out.
yeah, they wanted me to do it anyway. They're like, "Oh, you'll be fine." And that's how I became the world's most hated Optimus Prime. But yeah, I was Optimus Prime in those movie 2 commercials. Somebody on YouTube said, "Oh, that's Michael Dorn." With all the authority of being somebody talking out of their ass. That's Michael Dorn. To the point where years later I saw on Wikipedia Michael Dorn, voice of, and I was like, you know what? I'm taking ownership of that. And
Yeah.
I
I
made
just
the
said,
worst performance. God damn
no, it's
it!
like, I am Optimus Prime, and it's
Girl.
so he says that in the movie, and the first comment on YouTube was like, no, you ain't, and
Oh,
the next comment was like, language.
It's
That's
okay.
a fake fuckface nut hugging Peter Cullen. Fuck you, imposter.
Wow.
And
shit.
that became it was like holy moly, and I actually printed that out and had it up on my office wall because it was so funny. And the best story about that is that when the movie came out, the the whole agency is like we shut down. We're like we're closing at noon and we're gonna go see the movie. And at the end of the movie, Optimus Peter Cullen, I am Optimus Prime. And then so my coworker friend Doug goes, "No, you ain't." Just shouts that out. And I
Oh,
just like uncontrollably started laughing. I had to leave the theater. It
Ima-
was, yeah,
Imagine carrying the dialogue as Peter Cullen. That would have been epic.
yeah, yeah. If I ever get a chance to meet him, I'm going to apologize profusely. But yeah, it's yeah, I mean that's how I got started into voice acting. And then this realist stuff that I'd done for Hasbro, I I shopped it around to local agents, and I was picked up by the Mary Collins agency, and the very first anime I ever did, I drove out to old Funimation in the old Frost Bank building in North
Mm.
Richland Hills, Texas. Um, and yeah, I auditioned for Case Closed, and I became a gold digging husband that gets murdered on a cruise ship. Um, and yeah, it's like that was back before simuldub, so you would record it, and then like months later, it's on Cartoon Network, and I was just
Mm.
beaming. I'm like,
I'm on
I'm in an
cable.
anime on TV, and it was yeah, I was that was very special. And so I did that on the side. I did anime on the side, Full Metal Alchemist, Konocha,
Mhm.
a whole bunch of like just bit parts and things, and yeah, there was a point in time where they basically said we're not going to do after hours recording anymore, and you could only record during business hours. So there was like a 3 maybe 4 year stretch where I wasn't doing anime at all. Um,
Mhm.
and then they started doing after hours again, and then I got laid off, and I went full time, and here I am.
Wow. Now
So,
you've been in so much. Is there anything that you still want to do? Because the list is like pretty long.
I would
mhm.
just have. Here's the thing: I would love to have a lead character. I've never
Okay.
had a lead character, and J.K. Simmons.
Yes.
Yeah,
He is
Yeah.
kind of like he's
of
kind of like
course.
my spirit actor. He is a great
Mhm.
character actor who puts everything he has into whatever role it is. No matter the role, no matter how weird it is, no matter how strange it is, he treats it like like it's a role. I mean, they say there are no small parts. I mean, that's true. I mean, you put everything you have into it, and he does. And then one day, he does Whiplash, wins an Academy Award. I'm waiting for that
Yeah,
whiplash.
yeah.
It's gonna happen
Yeah.
someday. Yeah, yeah, it's I if you could do character voices, you work because stuff like One Piece, it's like we need a talking
Mhm.
tidal wave. We need it's if you could do weird stuff, you're gonna keep working. But it's like you don't get asked to conventions for like bits. So it's like that's why I'm happy to get, supports. I'm happy to be Kenyu Yukimiya in Blue Lock.
Mhm.
I'm happy to be muscular. People want the villain because, it's but I would just love to have I would love to be the lead in a harem comedy. I would love to be, I
And,
would love to be the lead in anything.
and those are
Someday.
ironically, those are my favorite roles here as a narrator, as 100 Girlfriends.
Yeah,
I cannot
yes.
wait for season 3. I love it. Oh
Yes,
my God.
yes, yes.
What's such a pleasure about that is that he has no flaps, so I could go as freaking
Mm.
crazy
Yeah,
and ape nuts as I want to. It's
it's
just like,
it's it's
yeah.
similar to the narrator from Kaguya-sama. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, there's a great joke about that.
Oh
So,
no.
Okay.
see, so the Kaguya-sama narrator, it's a different style. It's
Yes,
same
yes.
same
Mhm.
same
Yeah.
idea of the omnipotent narrator, and so a lot of people were comparing, my narrator with Ian's Kaguya-sama narrator,
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
um, so in December there was that weird bronchitis thing that was going around. It was like, and it was nasty,
Yes.
and I ended
Yes.
up getting
Yeah.
sick. And the thing is that I did not, it's like folks out there who want to be voice actors, if you get sick, no matter the role, don't go into the studio because you're going to put everybody else at risk,
yeah, yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it's like,
The germs speak up from the microphone. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And it's like, so I just said, I'm not going to come in. I don't want to spread it to anybody. So as a joke, Helena, the director, brought Ian in to fill in for me because
Oh
and
no.
but the thing is, but said do not, and told him, don't do it like Jim, do the Kaguya Sama narrator. And so literally, it's like the Kaguya-sama narrator does one episode of 100 Girlfriends, and he even makes a joke to the old narrator at the very end. And then when I came back, I re-recorded it, and so and his performance. A lot of people are like, "Oh man, they fired Foronda because
Mhm.
Sinclair's so much
Oh
better,"
no.
and really punches you like in the self confidence when people are like, "Oh
Mhm.
yeah, man," and it's like um, it's and that was an unintended thing, that kind of
Yeah,
came out of
yeah.
that. But then it was nice because some people were like, "Oh no, he actually stayed home because he didn't want to get his coworkers sick." It's like I'm thinking, thank you so much for talking about that. But yeah, and then I
Yeah.
came back and I went back to the 100 Girlfriends narrator, and the during season 2. um, my wife and I had a trip to Japan in March, and
Mhm.
I was afraid I was gonna miss it. And I told Helen, I'm like, you should bring in another like A-lister to replace me just to see what people do.
Oh
But the
no.
thing is that the episode that I missed recording, the narrator didn't have any. There was no narrator dialogue, so we
Oh,
missed out on that. But
Mhm.
but I did get to go to a 100 Girlfriends pop-up cafe
Oh,
in
that's cool.
Akihabara, and so uh, some of my fellow actors, they were like, "Hey, can you pick up stuff for us?" And unfortunately, the merch was not available for sale. Um, because it was like I was like, oh, that's why it was so easy to get seats because the merch didn't come in until like the following week, and then and so that's why like the schedule is like so full.
Mhm.
Like when I had booked it to go on, I was like, I didn't want to screw it up because I was using Google Translate to
Mhm.
my reservation,
Right.
and so it was like notes, and I was saying it was basically, please let me know if I did anything wrong. I'm one of the voice actors for the English dub, and I really, really, really want to visit your cafe. Thank you very much for your help. And so I get there, and when they say that, I'm sorry, we can't sell, it's display only. And so my wife and I were eating, and it's great because they give you all these little freebies. You
Mhm.
couldn't ask for anything specific, so I'm just like, whatever I get, I'm putting them in the studio, and then everybody
Yeah.
can grab their characters. And so he comes over, and as I said, the first person who asks me to buy a standee, I'll try to get. And so he says, I can sell you the display. Uh, would you please sign? And he gives me one of those autograph boards that you see in restaurants.
Mm.
And I
Mhm.
was like, I was like, oh, thank you so much. And I was just, I was like, and a lot of Japanese seiyus, it's like they have like really great artistic skills and they're drawing their characters and stuff.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, I can't do that. So I
From
just
drawing
said,
to cosplay, you name it, singing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I was like, I just said, thank you very much, from America, and I wrote my name, the English
Mhm.
language narrator of 100 Girlfriends, and I write domo arigato, in big letters and a big heart and a smiley face, because I was just pleased. I was like, I can't believe somebody asked me to
Yeah.
sign that, and whenever we return to Japan, I don't know when that's going to happen, but I want to go by that cafe and just see if it's still up there. It was really cool. It was really cool for them to like want me to sign something to put it up in
Mhm.
the restaurant. I'm like, it's you feel special. You feel like you're making a difference.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
with harem fans especially, woo, because I'm one of the few.
Yeah.
I, I just love how it takes the harem comedy and it makes it even more absurd. And what makes it work is that Rentaro, he's not like a perv. He genuinely loves every single one of them.
And
And
he's
he's
not
caring
exact. Yeah,
and
he's
he's
not exactly.
chaste, he's like
Yeah,
his
he's
freaking not Iron Man gloves.
yeah.
That season two.
And
It's
it's all steam energy. It's all like I want to make you feel better. Like it's not exactly
yeah.
like I'm going to be the reason why you're going to be better. I want to make sure you get that extra gear to be better. And it's a natural like
Yeah, that's why
positive
it
harem.
works.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's it's a very positive relationship. He just happens to have 100 of them,
Yes.
and it's like it just makes it work. It's like it's greater than the sum of its parts in a way because it's like you don't expect it to be as good as it is, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah. And then with Quintessential as well, I had to do a recheck with that because I saw the movie in English. I did the Quintessential movie in English, and it's Rent Your Girlfriend's better as a harem show, but Quintessential is definitely like that study where how they make the pieces work and how they make the story work, and yeah, all the performances were wonderful in that one.
And that's he's also i- he's one of the coolest dads ever. He just has
Yes.
his sunglasses on his head all the time. I don't think he ever actually wears them. Yeah. I'm an irresponsible, somehow responsible at the same time father.
Oh, five beautiful girls.
Yeah.
Oh no, 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 not no.
Oh,
Um
for renter girl, or for
uh
on your girlfriends.
no, no, in Quin Quin. um,
Oh, the friend?
he's an Ari. Um, oh my God, he's Futaro's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
Yeah,
call.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
call.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, the character name, so many. You had to like,
It,
my brain had to like search for which character is which.
And we were
I
going
was
through harems, so
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of days to go through. Man, I forget names like the second after I watch them, which is kind of crazy. I'm getting old.
it's
Uh,
just no. Trust me, it's the same thing. It's like you're just juggling so many shows, and it's like,
yes.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
It'd be like, yeah, that one. The one that did that. Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's my description. All right. We have a question from a friend of the show,
Okay.
our good friend Tyler over at the Anime Degens podcast. Shout out to you, Tyler. So he said that he saw that you played Chappie in Takopi. And
Yes.
so he wanted to ask, um, what did you have to do to channel that inner dog?
Well,
and and
well,
he has to add to that. How does like playing an animal role compare to playing like a normal human role?
well, it's interesting because with Chappie, he, you know, he loves her. He's a good dog. He's like all kind dogs. My sister has, you know, she has two golden retrievers. It's like dogs. Friendly dogs are just happy to see people. And
Mhm.
um oh my God. See again with names. The lead in Takopi, Emily Fajardo dubbed
Mhm.
her.
Um,
My
oh
brain
my
is failing
goodness,
me. Oh,
my brain is feeling me too. But
she's
we had the we had the we had the we had the
Shizuka.
power of the internet.
Is it Shizuka?
Uh, yeah, she's Shizuka. Yeah, I
Shizuka,
think
yeah,
it is Shizuka. Yeah,
yeah, Shizuka, yeah. So, and he loves
yeah,
Shizuka,
Shizuka,
and
Shizuka.
and so basically, it's like it's dogs, how dogs sound happy. You're like, I'm happy to see you. And then you make dog noises while you're thinking, I'm happy to see you. And there's one thing that I added that was not in the Japanese. And there's
Mm.
there's one scene where um oh my God, the bully, the bully girl
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is voiced dubbed by Jill Harris,
Um,
and comes up, and the first time Pappy meets her, and you know how like dogs when they come up to you and they do those inquisitive barks, and they're like, oh, new human, new friend,
mhm,
and there was nothing in the Japanese Chappie making those noises, but he was going up to her, and I asked Sean Gann, the director, I'm like, he's a nice dog. So I made some inquisitive kind of like, those, like those, like, oh,
mhm.
new friend. Um, because he has no idea what's going to happen. He has known nothing but love and kindness up until that point. And I wanted to throw that in there to make everything all the more tragic. Um, because man, Takopi, that puts you through the emotional ringer. Holy moly.
Yeah, it does.
Um,
and that
It
but
dog
if
is a
does.
Yep.
catalyst character and
yeah,
super important.
yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah, it's I yeah I was very happy to be part of that show. As devastating as it can be, there are aspects of that story that are important.
Yes,
Um,
very much so.
that to be a part of that message of just talking to people, being open, and everybody, Emily and Jill and Kieran and and Abigail as Takapi. Kieran Strange was the voice of the boy who's
Oh,
in
the
love with
friend?
she's yeah, the
The
friend, yeah.
friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
everybody, and oh my gosh, whoever played her parents, everybody just they
Hmm.
put everything they had into it, and
Yes.
it's and the performances are so natural. It's sometimes anime does have that, it'll have that anime sound. People talk about
Hmm.
the anime voice, but there is some shows have that, like Shonen always has that very performative. It kind
Yeah.
of has a base in kabuki theater. It's
Yeah.
like when you'll hear, even in Japanese, you'll hear um, a very performative Japanese performance, and then you can hear like more natural Japanese performances in live action and stuff like that. Um, and it's and Takopi's was in both Japanese and in English. It's all very natural and um, as if it's real people on film, and
Yeah.
production and that was just amazing, amazing. Everybody did just incredible work in that, and
I
and
agree.
it's like I'm just Chappie. I'm just a pup, but to even be considered, a part of that cast is just it's nice.
That that was like, that was very heavy. It was a very heavy
Yeah,
show, but it was also
yeah,
very relatable for a lot of people with the different themes that it
yeah,
touched on. And you know what? You actually, for once, you have parents present in the anime, and
yeah.
you're like, you know what? Those parents were the best.
Every
Maybe
all the
this is
adults
why
fail
they're
those
never
children.
there.
All
Yeah,
the adults fail those children in that show.
yeah.
Like for the cops
Yeah.
that go check on Shizuka, and it's like they look at her house and they're just like, and they leave.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. All of them. So it was very, that was a very interesting thing for me to see.
yeah.
Um, so all right, let me ask this.
Hmm.
And so you are battling diabetes,
Yes.
correct? So we had a good friend of ours. Shout out to you, Ernie. We miss you, brother. That unfortunately succumbed to diabetes. But how is it to deal with that while working as a voice actor? And any words of encouragement that you have for anybody that's dealing with that?
Well, I've been a type 1 diabetic since I was 10 years old. It's the autoimmune one. It's like it's where,
Mm-hmm.
it's like when you have an autoimmune disease, you could get Crohn's disease, you could get eczema, you get, rheumatoid arthritis.
My mom
I
has
got,
scleroderma. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I got type 1 diabetes. So it's like, I wear an insulin pump. I went from like bottles and syringes to insulin pens. Now I've got an insulin pump, which by medical definition makes me a cyborg because it
Mm-hmm.
is a machine that replaces the activity of the pancreas. So because you have a
Mm-hmm.
machine that replaces an organ, that makes you a medical cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, sometimes it's kind of a pain in the ass because pumps the FCC, it's like, or the FDA, it's like it has to alert if something goes wrong. It has to alert the user, and you can't turn it off. So I always try to make sure my blood sugars are like nice and even and level. Um, or like, is it fully charged? Because yeah, the first time it was like, oh, or how full is the insulin cartridge? Because I'm recording, and then beep beep beep. I'm like, are you kidding
Mm-hmm.
me? That was a good take. Sorry. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, and so the first time that happened, I made sure to never let that happen again. But no, I mean it will not it you know you don't have to let it like hamper you. It's like it's if you stay in control and yeah, you just keep doing it like everybody else does. There are some other type 1 diabetics as well. The ones that are voice actors. And one thing, and this is what I realized I never got asked to conventions until like Trap. So in 2019. Um, so when they said write a bio, it's like, well, I want to write a fun bio, but I don't want to be one of those silly bios where it's like made up stuff or anything. And so I wrote about being a type 1 diabetic and by definition being a cyborg. I thought that's funny. And so there's people in the autograph line and a girl maybe 11, 12, junior high age, I'm guessing, comparing to like friends' kids, and dressed as Midoriya. Says, I want to thank you for talking about being a diabetic because a lot of people make fun of you for that. And what's weird is that I had like this sudden Finding Nemo, 322 Wallaby Way, Sydney flashback of my mom chasing down the school bus with a syringe full of insulin because I forgot to take it that morning. And I got drug addict jokes and stuff like that and everything for weeks after having to take a shot on the bus. And it's like I had forgotten about that. But when I to know that something that I wrote for fun in my bio just like, haha, it meant so much to that kid. I realized that was the first time I realized, besides, yeah, I mean, I'm an actor. I am a regular person who just goes into a box and talks funny and yells and does stuff, right? But it made me realize how much of an impact what we do can have for people. And so it's like I've been a proponent of basically talking about that if anybody asks. Um, another convention, uh, a woman was dressed. Oh gosh, I can't remember David.
Mad
But
Moxie.
she actually no. It was another anime, but she had incorporated her insulin pump into the belt on
Oh
her
wow.
cosplay. And
Oh
she's like,
wow.
"Hey, it's like a fellow cyborg," and it's like, and I've had people come up and say, they always talk about, "Hey, I'm a cyborg too," and we talk about, "Oh, hey, what pump do you have?" and stuff, and it seems kind of silly, but you know. To people but it makes me feel good to know that I'm helping. It's like, hey, we are one
Mm,
and the same. We are in this together. So what I did when I started doing the last few conventions is I have a fundraising print of Muscular. Muscular always his thing is show me your blood. So I have a regular print of him punching, at at
mm,
the viewer of the picture. But I had the artist do another version where he's holding up instead of it's a hand holding um, cell phone with a continuous glucose monitor app running. And so that one is titled "Show Me Your Blood Sugar Levels."
Oh,
And so the first time I started selling that, it's a fundraising print, and 100% of everything that goes from the sales of that print go to the Fausman Lab at Massachusetts General. That is a doctor who has been um, researching how stopping autoimmune diseases with a modified version of the polio vaccine,
mm,
because the polio vaccine is it's nobody owns it. It's like public domain. Nobody can make any money off of it, so nobody wants to fund it. So it's all basically been funded through donations. Lee Iacocca, who was like his wife was a type 1 diabetic, funded their
mm.
entire first trials. They're
Wow.
actually in pediatric trials now, and it worked. It tells the if you are a type 1 diabetic and pancreas still produces islet cells, but the body keeps killing them, it if you're it basically has been shown to prevent it targets specifically the white blood cells that target the islet cells. So the islet cells that produce insulin don't get killed by your own body. And yeah, it's in trials that has been working. They're doing pediatric trials right now. But yeah, that's what those funds go to, because it's big pharma doesn't fund it because they can't make money off of it. So
Mm.
it's I donated a blood sample to it in my days with Hasbro because we would fly into Boston Logan.
Mm.
And yeah, I remember going up there and I'm like, I'm donating a blood sample, anything to make this work. And here it is, just years later. It's yeah. But yeah, that's show me your blood sugar levels. When I'm selling that, that's where that goes to. And then basically, so people know I am not hosing them, I donate literally either from the airport or like in the evening on the last day, and then
Mm.
it's like I show you. Here's a screenshot from Massachusetts General. That's how much we raised. And it's like I've had like parents come up and they said, you know what? Yeah, how much is this? Here's 100. Put all of that towards
Mm.
uh, the thing, and so I'll ring it up in Square. Uh, blood T1D. It's like all my prints have shortcuts. Blood T1D, and then it's like, and I just enter 100 towards that, and then I total it all up, and then yeah, it's nice. It feels like uh, using my powers for good, as I kind of
Yeah.
like to say. So
yeah. That's
try to
Yeah.
awesome,
leave
Jim.
try to leave the earth as better as you can make it than when you got here. You know.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. That's first of all, thank you for like
Thank you.
sharing that and being vulnerable and sharing your story. And to do that, that's a big thing, because it's we say it all the time. You never know the impact that you're going to have on somebody, and
You
something that
don't.
you just wrote as a bio, like, all right, this would be a little fun. You don't expect for it to be like this big connective thing, And you kind of touched on another question that we want to ask, like about the conventions and
Mm.
the importance of being able to connect with people. But seeing that and seeing people with the insulin pump in their cosplay and people talking about, I'm a cyborg too. That just goes to show you the community that's out there and the support that you all garner. And
Yeah, I whenever I meet somebody, I always like it's like, can I get a picture with you? And do you mind if I post it? Because I just like it,
mm,
it just yeah, I just want people to know it. It's not a, health problems. The stuff that we have, illnesses. It's not something to to be ashamed of. It's just something you got to live with. Everybody's got some sort of illness they're living with. I mean, it could be or some sort of imperfection. Even wearing glasses is like our eyeballs aren't perfectly round enough, so we got to wear glasses. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's like it again. It was that first kid telling me that thanking me for talking about it. I was like, that's I just didn't realize how important it was. And so it's like I again do what you can to make it better.
Yeah,
mm,
in every small
Yeah.
step. That's pretty nice of you.
every step,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely put a link to the Fossman Lab on the description of this, and you
Thank you very
know
much.
we'll
Yeah.
definitely do that.
I had a friend that recently had diabetes setback, and yeah, he had a
Mm,
surgery, appendix, you know.
Yeah, it's man, it can, even no matter how good control you have, it's gonna end up wreaking havoc on you somehow. I mean, yeah, you can take the best care of yourself that you can, but you know, it'll do a number on you. When you get older, it's like it sucks.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Doesn't get easier, really.
no, it's that's our bodies, but you're staying positive, man. You're still fighting, and that's a good thing. That's inspirational. That the next convention that you go to, I'm sure somebody else is going to walk up to you, and that just being that inspiration in that way is it's a that's it takes a lot of strength just to get up each day, and that's a win.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
credit to you and the work that you're doing for that, for
Thank you.
sure. Um, let's touch on a couple shows
Sure.
before we get you up out of here because we don't want to take up all your time.
Man,
Um,
I feel like we're just getting started still. I
I
could, I could talk for
know.
hours. I could talk for hours, just so you
I
know.
was trying to recruit you for
Don't
my with my D&D
yeah, don't
with my
don't
campaign.
don't test us because we can talk for. I had to cut the toys short because if
I'm
we kept
sorry.
talking
I'm
about
so
toys,
sorry.
it would have gone
Oh,
crazy.
if you want to have me on again, I'm happy to come on again for like
See,
talking about other things.
we got that. We're recording this, so we're going to have you brought back
Okay.
on. We're going to have you brought back on. Um. Okay, so spring season is about to come up. You're in a couple
Mhm.
shows that we like thoroughly enjoy. So that time I got reincarnated as a slime. So how is it to play, a role in that? And what is it like to have like a reoccurring role in a hit show that you could constantly that you're coming back to over and over again
Well,
from a very memorable character?
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I was Geld 1 in the Orc Demon Lord. The
Mm-hmm.
Geld that is in the show from then on out he's
Someone else.
Geld 2 in
Okay.
Chris George, because remember I was devoured by Rimuru and
Right.
then was reunited with my family in the
Yeah.
afterlife. That was the first time I made a monster cry, and
Oh
that
wow.
was a that was I was so because when I read up on the in the light novels, because he shows up in the very beginning, and he's this unseen, you know phantom threat up until like the last couple episodes. And I was reading the light novel and I'm thinking, oh my God, he cries. And that's what and it's, I always tell people, it's like, what I sometimes I'll teach classes on doing character stuff, that, whatever voice you come up with, you have to, you need to know, you need to be able to express every possible emotion, every emotion that a human being can feel you should be able to do it in that voice. Because if not, it's just a voice. If you can make a monster cry, then it becomes a character. So,
Mm.
it's yeah. And Cliff Chapin actually directed me in that last episode, and it is one of my favorite performances.
That is a great performance. That's good. I mean, that means you got out of there before, all the meetings in season 3. So
Okay, I did come back in those OVAs.
so
There's like one of the little bit characters. There are some
yeah.
bandits that appear in like episode 1 or 2 or something like that. And then
Okay.
these OVAs come out, and there's this one blonde-haired bandit that I happen to voice for like, oh, we're gonna get you, and then they get like Team Rocketed off the screen,
Yeah.
and then it turns out that same band of bad guys, they're the villains in this OVA series. And it was fun to come back to that like 3 years later. That same, I'm like, what did he sound like? I had to go back and hear it. It's yeah. When you do a lot of character voices, you forget there's so many jumbling around in your head. You have to get
Yeah.
reference.
Well, especially with anime, like
Yeah.
with OVAs,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's like sporadic, and like even like the quintessential movie that was like, I had it back like I did see it at the theater. That's almost 4 years ago. Holy cow!
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you seeing that. Okay, so this show was, I think this was a top 10 show for Edwin and I in season 1. So Wistoria, Wand and Sword.
Oh,
It's so good. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
that would be
yes,
Professor Werkner.
yes. And
Yeah.
he was a very
Very.
memorable character.
I
Very
love,
memorable.
man. That if that show, I'm surprised no shampoo company in Japan has done a tie-in with that show because the hair animation alone is
Yes.
incredible. That
Yeah.
very first scene, it's like Phil Parsons is Edward, Professor Selfins,
Mhm.
and it's like, he's like, you need to get the kids out of the dungeon, and Werner's just like, it's okay. Will Surford is with them. And then the Selfin's just like, he turns around and he's so pissed off. And when he turns around, his hair just kind of swoops. And it's like, damn, the animation in this show is amazing. It's
It
like
is.
and that's just the hair. And then, God, that cast also, I am so proud to be a part of that show. And it's like, it's mostly a pretty young cast. And, being one of the old people, one of the old, the old actors on. I kind of based his warmth on my high school English teacher.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
there's a very, he's very supportive. It's like he's stern. It's like if you're not doing what he knows you can do, he's gonna get on you about that. But he's like, he's because he wants you to succeed, and that's what I put into Werther. I cannot wait for season 2. Oh my
I
gosh. I
I can't either. I
have
can't
have
wait
you have you
either.
have
Yeah.
you read are you up on the manga?
I won't read it because I want to watch it.
Okay.
I
Have you
want to
have you
watch it.
seen the trailer? Have you seen the
As
last trailer?
we saw the trailer when we did
The
Spring
the
preview.
preview.
Yeah.
incredibly spoilerific trailer. There are spoilers in that trailer. I'm like, why did you put these scenes in the trailer? But yeah, there's a scene there that, man, I cannot wait to record. Oh my God. I just loved that show. Ah, and again, all the students, they're all those actors are just phenomenal.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They are doing a phenomenal. It's one of the best casts from the that I've seen.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
Corey and I have like just scenes together, with Werner and Will, and it's just
mhm.
I love playing off of him. It's just, oh man. And then when Phil and I have our teacher bickering at the very end of season 1, it's like, we're both riding on the back of this dragon. We're gonna save these kids. It's just, oh, I love it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ah,
that was an awesome scene. That was an
Yeah.
awesome fight. That was an awesome fight. Well, okay, let's go to another cast that we love, and this is one of Jack's favorites, Hell's Paradise.
oh,
Okay.
oh gosh. Hold on a second. I gotta get
Uh-oh.
this thing.
See,
That I
see.
did for.
Uh-oh.
Every
Look,
time.
you see now look Jack.
Every
Look at
time.
Jack.
Okay.
I put it in my other room.
Okay. So, shoot, I had a reflector here because the dining
That's
room
okay.
lights, like, yeah. Anyway, so, we, Marissa Duran, voice of
Hmm.
Saigiri, and
Yeah.
Macy Ann Johnson, who's the voice of May, and Landon McDonald, who's the voice of oh,
Is
oh,
there
what's
her?
he's the new character for season two. Wears black. He's got the short, spiky black hair. His name is
Uh,
Oh, the kid.
damn it.
yeah,
Um,
he's
I
just a kid.
lose, I lose, I
yeah,
lose the names. I lose the
yeah.
names, but I
So
know we know. I know who you're talking
we there's a local tabletop role playing Gundam local nerd shop for
about.
all of us.
Hmm.
Madness Games and Comics. It's a place that I actually would when I would record at Sabbath Studio. It's nearby, so I would stop there on the way home. And but yeah, they did a Hell's Paradise meet and greet and signing, and so for the first time ever, I got a print of Hoko made, and it didn't sell very well. But I thought, you know what? I went I went in my backyard and got sticks and I broke them in small pieces. And I said, I will basically, I will.
Oh,
I would tell somebody, I was like, pick the stick, pick whatever of these sticks you like, and I will basically paint Hoko's face on it for you and autograph the stick for you. It's like a
oh.
custom made Hoko for you.
That is
And
incredible.
I would request that personally too. He's
Yes,
one of
he
my
yeah,
favorite
would.
Yeah,
characters. Yeah,
yeah.
Yes, he
yeah,
would.
like
because
I want that.
I read the manga before I saw the show, and it's
Yeah,
my like one of the first organic like I need to see every thing and I need to meet everyone involved with this production.
he
It's such
really
an
does.
amazing show, and
It
the
is.
animation is it is Mappa at its finest. Um, it's everybody caught up on season two.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Okay, all
all
right.
caught up.
this
Yeah.
past
So
week was good.
yeah, not wanting to spoil anything, but the that scene, which I thought was going to happen at the end of season one, and I thought, oh, I
Yeah,
guess it didn't.
it,
Um,
I'm wondering if there's going to be season three or a movie. Cross our
yeah,
fingers. We'll see.
yeah.
Mm,
It's what's nice is that because it's a finite show, you know that it's not going to be one of those things where they drag the story on forever, even
right.
though it's
13 volumes done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that scene with Hoko and May, reading it in the manga, I was
Yes.
like, I cannot wait to record this. And man, that put me through an emotional ringer. That was a Hayden Davio. They directed me in that, and um, it was it's like you pull from experiences and stuff like that to bring
Hmm.
emotion out in the story and in the character, and yeah, that really did a number on me. And it was like, because normally I can like when I do something like that, I can shake it off and go about my
Hmm.
day. But yeah, it's like I went down to Hayden's like, here, I'm going to show you something to kind of bring the mood up. Here's a picture of our new puppy. I'm like, oh my God, that's adorable and everything. And then I go down to the car and it's like, Jesus, I can't stop crying. It was like I was wondering, is this healthy? Is this a healthy thing to do? But it was
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
it's like no, but I mean, is it healthy to bring up like, old emotions
Mm.
and for the purpose of acting, it's like to drag them up and concentrate them for performance. And it was the first time I couldn't let it go.
Hmm.
And it's like, so I ended up calling my wife and I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's like, it was weird. It was really weird. And it was, but, um, yeah, it was, yeah, it came through in the scene. I was really happy with how it turned out. But yeah, that was a weird experience for me because it was like, why is it not stopping? Um, yeah, it was,
Well, it
eh,
was with the story of
Yeah.
that, it's a timeless story, and
yeah,
Yeah.
before the events of the island and things like that. But it's also an origin story, and it's
yeah,
also nature with humanity, and that's the beauty of that fucking show.
yeah,
The
Yeah.
layers and
yeah.
beyond what an intimate reaction towards two characters can bring about.
Yeah, it's like we a lot of us will pull, you know, real life loss and things like that. Things in our life that, you know, you've come to terms with.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. We all come to terms with things to where we can go on our daily lives. But then, sometimes when you go back to those sensations, um, and you're in that mental mindset to and then you do your lines and it comes through in the character and but yeah, this one last time it was like I was unable to shake it off as quickly as I have in the past for other things, and it was a that was a new experience. uh, it was alarming because it's like, yeah,
It definitely played through. Well,
thank
it
you,
came through the screen for sure.
thank you.
It definitely came through the screen. So, to hear that it stuck with you that much, like from just looking at the performance, I could tell that you had to go to a place that, brought some ugly stuff up to put that on the
Yeah,
screen, and
yeah,
it was remarkable. It was one of the most memorable. You know, I'm not a guy. For me, like episodes, they all kind of blend in together. So it's
yeah,
hard for me to be like, all right, yeah, this episode, Jack is like a great person with that. But that is one that specifically stood out to me. And like I keep thinking about that scene when it comes to this season. And so I think that just goes to show the job that you did because May she's a very beloved character, and you saw
yeah.
the relationship
And
between
Macy
her
is
and
so good as
Hoko.
May.
Yeah,
I,
and
I,
it's a very hard character to like articulate and to
yeah,
also
Yeah,
craft into like
but she
this is a
packs a
surreal
lot
being.
of
Yeah.
emotion into the few words that May
yeah,
says. It's
yeah.
fun bit of trivia. May Macy and I did a commercial for a chicken restaurant a while back, and it was so funny because it was like because I when I found out. It's like you go in to record the commercial, and then here's the person you're recording. And unlike anime where you record separately, when you do a
Mhm.
commercial, you're recording, you're playing off of each other, and it was so much fun. It was like, oh my gosh, I oh I if anybody out there, here's an AMV idea for you. If you take our Golden Chick commercial and then do an AMV with Hoko and May talking about Golden Chick, that would be there. You go.
Or like with the broken like English and
Yeah,
everything. Oh
because
man.
it's I mean it's only audio for the commercial. So if you yeah
Yeah.
there you go. Whoever does an AMV of Golden of Hoko and May doing Golden Chick, I will that would be just incredible.
We need to get
And now I
somebody
want to
on.
try that chicken if it's a for Hell's Paradise standards.
See, that's another thing. Yeah, Jack is a chicken connoisseur.
Oh yeah.
So now you just added something to his list of
Especially
things
for
to try.
Texas, eh?
Hey man, I like my chicken too, but Jack trumps me for sure.
Those chicken sandwiches. Yep, he's on the
Oh
hunt
yeah,
all the time.
he's on the hunt. He's on the hunt. We gotta get on the coat to go to Roost when he comes here, Jack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Tyler would be mad at me if I don't ask him about Apothecary Diaries. So
Oh,
Speaking of like epic, like
yeah,
one
yeah,
after another. Yeah,
yeah. I don't want him mad at me. So
man, that
so how was it playing Gwen in Apothecary Diaries in such
Gwen
a
is
beloved show? Because I think was it was it was one of our number ones the
mine.
first season.
it's
The
so
first season. Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
and then I
I
think
love how
second is mine.
they I love how in season one, and a lot of the key art and stuff, they kind of pitch it
Mhm.
as like, oh, it's a romance, between Jinchi and Mao Mao. But man, this show is like hardcore mystery. It's
It
like
is.
Yep.
my favorite, like all shows have their different opening credit sequences. First half of season two, that opening credit sequence where it's like the abstract, that kind of like
Yes.
that Escher with
Yeah.
the doors and
Hmm.
peeking around corners, and then with the that ba-na-na-na-na, and it's we're solving a mystery here.
Hmm.
We're solving crimes and death. That's
Yeah.
God, I love that. And the show itself, it's just the backgrounds and the artwork is it's so beautiful. The
It is.
the um the the Ghost Woman episode from season
Uh
one.
huh. Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
such a beautiful story. And
Yeah.
one of
It
my favorite
is.
things also I think from season two is when Gwen has to basically like help Mau Mau go undercover to find out what's in the shed. And
Yeah.
he's just
Yeah.
but he's
Yeah.
just he's very soft spoken, unlike a lot of my other characters. And he's and Emmy Lowe, voice of Mau Mau, they were telling me that because they've read all of the novels and the manga, let me know that Gwen is the author's favorite character, apparently.
Huh.
Like he's not
Interesting.
of all the characters, the author loves Gwen. And I'm like, I'm thinking, really? that means he's never going to get killed off the show. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
He's he's just a lovable doofus, and and I love the fact that he takes care of kitten Mau Mau now.
Mhm.
I told Sean, I
Yeah,
said, I
yeah.
swear to God, if anything happens to this kitten, I am quitting the show. I will quit the show. I remember when that first episode I on Twitter I did this post of you know the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the dog, if anything happens to this, I'm killing everybody in this room.
Mhm, mhm.
I photoshopped Gwen's head and then kitten Mau Mau in the arms. Like if anything happens to Mau Mau, I will quack everybody in this room and then myself. Um yeah, it's he's
Yeah.
he's a fun character. And then just the show is just it's so pretty. It's so I love the mystery. You know, it's like
Mhm.
it's and the characters are just so fun and it's yeah. Mm. I like working with Sean Gann. He's a good director. Yeah, he's fun to work with. I Lee. I like working with a lot of directors. Everybody's got like a different style.
Mhm.
You know, the Inman Jerry Inman for Wistoria and Helena on
Mhm.
100 Girlfriends and you know the Emily on One Piece and To Be Hero X and then Jonathan Rigg on Trapped in a Dating Sim and Blue Lock and I like working with everybody.
Yeah. Do you prefer, like, when you're directed, do you prefer like this is what I want and knowing exactly that, or like having a little freedom the way that you kind of do with the narrator?
You know what? I basically I want to give the director what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And so what a lot of directors will do is they'll get a take how they picture it, and then they'll say, "Okay, do it. You give me another one, and just play with it how you want." You
Mm-hmm.
know the inflection, and and sometimes you know that you know the delivery will be different, but then they'll go, "Oh, I like that." Um, sometimes as long as very rarely can you ad lib anything um or change anything
Yeah.
because you know you
Mm-hmm.
there's risk of like changing the meaning of what the dialogue is.
Right.
Now in Bye Bye Earth, Lee George, I was uh uh Jin Buck, the Firefly
Mm-hmm.
dude. And there's this part where, you know, the character that carries the sword, but he can't use it. And the in the script, he says, I have this sword and you know, but I cannot use it. And then Jin says it was scripted, come again? You know, and but that, you know, that's we know what he's saying there because he doesn't understand is like, what do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a colloquialism that's really old. And in one take, I just said, well, why do you have one? This confused kind of old man voice, like, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's just the silliest thing I've ever heard. Why do you have one? And Lee thought it was so funny. It was hilarious. And he said, you know what? I want to put that in there, and then we'll make sure, you know, and you know, it's we had the actual, you know, come again, just in
Mm-hmm.
case. And then it has to go through like multiple layers of like approval and stuff like that to make sure it gets approved by the licensor and everything. And then and they loved it too. And so then, oh, why do you have one? And it's just it's and stuff like that. Sometimes it's fun, but it's nice to. There are some directors who will literally say it like this
Mm-hmm.
um, and because they have a set idea in their head of what everything's going to sound like, and you know, it's and if that's what they want, I will gladly deliver that because I like you know I like acting. Um, but I do say it is more fun um, when we get more freedom to kind of like stretch our legs with the characters. I another one like 100 like the 100 Girlfriends narrator,
Mm-hmm.
Luxion in Trapped in a Dating Sim. He's an AI in a hovering sphere or in a spaceship. He has no lip flaps, and I love Trapped in a Dating Sim, and find out that we're finally getting season two this year
Mm-hmm.
was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was I think it was around the holidays. I remember, and it was like this is like an extra Christmas gift when they announced it. Trapped in a Dating Sim season two will be airing in 2026. Oh, I have a feeling it's probably going to be like the second half of 2026 because they didn't give a date.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't wait to go back to that. Um, yeah,
You know, it's got to be exciting to just be like, Oh wait, we are getting to season two. Yay!
Whenever that happens, it's there. There's shows that we're doing a season two, and they never showed up. And
Mm,
for dating sim, they announced season two in good lord, it was like 2023, like
mm,
literally the Christmas 2023, like after the end of the season one, and that was the last we heard of it. And
Wow.
then like they maybe like a year later, they posted like, hey, working on season two, and then 2 years later, nothing. And I thought, oh, it's probably dead. And then
mm.
surprise, and I copied that tweet. I literally sent it to like I sent it to Jordan, I sent it to Jonathan, and it was like we're back. Oh man.
Yeah, because we, as fans, we're just sitting there too, like, all right, all right, we're never gonna get it again. And we just think about it, but it's just to think about it from the acting perspective, like, all right, season two, all right, I
Yep,
got this
yep.
role, and then it's just like 3 years later, like what, nothing.
Yeah, it's because it's always nice to get a season two of a show because you
Oh
like
yeah.
working, But if it's a show you had a lot of fun on,
Mm,
then that's even better because it was so much fun working on Captain Dating Sim. It was a show that was such a weird premise that people were like, "The hell is this?" And then its fandom grew slowly but surely. You could back when they had like the ratings and the comments, you could see people were
yeah.
like, I slept on this because the concept sounded stupid, but then it's like, but watching it, I love this show, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think before they pulled the ratings down, we were up to something like 90,000, positive reviews, like four or
Mm,
5-star reviews on. It was only 4 stars but yeah, it just that those ratings, those 4-star ratings, just kept growing and growing every week because
yeah.
people heard it from their friend and they told their friends and so on and so on, and it was like this runaway sleeper hit. It was just I love that show. Ugh.
Um, uh, Edwin, you got one? Jack, you got one? I don't want to monopolize the question.
I'm good too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, um, before we get you out of here, we got what I want to say this. Like, I'm glad to hear that you're able to maintain being a fan while
Yeah.
still working in it. Because I can and it's just not like acting. Like I think I hear athletes and musicians and everybody that once you're in the industry, for some people it's kind of hard to continue to enjoy it because now it's work, right? So like it's really exciting and refreshing to continue to hear the fandom in you as you speak about these different things. So how is it to like be able to maintain that while working in the industry where it's like, dang, I didn't get this role, but I still got this one, and this one was really cool.
It's hard because it's a lot of us are fans. I mean, everybody has their favorite shows and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, And here's the story I tell about Gundam 4. I discovered Gundam 3 in Yodobashi camera on a trip to Japan in 2017. Like Break Edition had just come out, and I was looking, man, is this? See if you're gonna get doesn't have an English translation. Oh, there's one region that has it in English and subtitled, and so I literally ordered it from Play Asia while from the hotel room. No, that was hotel room was the Kenyu stuff this year, or last year. No, I remember I ordered it standing there in Yodobashi camera, and it was waiting for me when I got home, and I played the crap out of Gundam Breaker 3. And then New Gundam Breaker came out. It was like, oh man, New Gundam Breaker is coming out in the U.S. They're making the next one's coming out here. I'm buying that sight unseen because Gundam Breaker 3 was so awesome. Gundam Breaker 3 was so awesome. Yeah, the New Gundam Breaker was different. They from what I understand, they tried to make it to target like a Western audience. Unfortunately, they didn't realize that the Western audience really loved Gundam Breaker 3. That's why it was being imported so much. And I thought, man, New Gundam Breaker, I mean, it failed miserably. And it was like, man, they're never going to bring Gundam Breaker back. And then one day I get audition sites. And it's like, it's all code named. And, and I'm looking at the characters and I'm thinking, wait a minute. And it's it scrolls down. I'm like, that's Misa. Wait, and then it scrolls further. That's Mr. Gunpla. What? And I told myself, I thought there's no way in hell I'm going to get anything in this game. There's no way.
Mm.
And I said, but I told myself, even if I don't get in the game, Gundam Breaker 4 is happening and it's coming to the US. I'm not going to have to import it and I can play it. And 3 weeks later, I get cast as Mr. Gunpla. And I was floored. I was so excited. I literally, I it's like I remember when I auditioned, I sent a photograph of my copy of uh, Breaker 3 Break Edition. I was like, this game's very important to me, and I really hope I land something, And it's but yeah, and I was and they loved the fact that I was a massive fan of it. It's one of the reasons why they had they ended up having Mr. Gunpla be the voice of the teaser trailer. Um, and because the English producer here said, just so you know, our English Mr. Gunpla is a massive fan of Gundam Breaker, and and it'd be really cool if we put him in the trailer. And so yeah, that's how we ended up doing that first Gundam. And it's funny because a lot of people were like, "This guy sounds so super cringe," and then there are other people that like there are people who are fans of three. They were going, "You think this is Mr. Gunpla?" And they were right because Mr. Gunpla is he's like kind of like a very showy loudmouth, kind of like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like that on purpose. And other people just immediately picked up on it, like a 90s toy commercial. And yeah, and then they had me come out for like to do the live stream at DNEA.
Mm.
And that was so cool because they had this one room with like all of the toys and like these like all of the stuff that oh man, they had some like perfect grades that were just
Mhm.
built, painted, and they had it's like we had a meeting in the Pac-Man room, and
Mhm.
they had like a like it's 2 story tall RX-78 like in the lobby, and there's oh gosh, there's it it was just cool. It was yeah.
Yeah. Then that sounds like a time to be in the midst of all that.
Yeah, it
Yep.
That
was. There's a lot of things
mm,
that it's like you wish, man, I really hope I make it, and you don't. But this is like,
mm,
man, I really hope I make it, and I did.
and you did, and you
Yeah.
Nice.
did. Dream fulfilled. Dream
Yes.
fulfilled.
I was. Oh, it was just cool.
Okay, I have two more questions. I
You know,
promise.
take all the time you
Two.
need. I'm happy to answer.
Okay. So, like, you say you're a people pleaser. So, how difficult is it to like go through the comments and like not like bury yourself into like what people are saying?
Ooh. Here's the thing. My first experience with that, like really heavy experience with that, was for Claptrap.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who there are people who will absolutely refuse me as Claptrap for forever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like, and that's cool. Everybody has to. My favorite James Bond is Roger Moore. My stepmom, she's like, Roger Moore is the saint. Sean Connery is James Bond. Pierce Brosnan is Remington Steele. I don't know who Daniel. I don't know who Daniel Craig is. Yeah, it's and
No love for
she
Timothy Hutton. Oh no.
oh yeah, that yeah, my stepmom. I love her. I love her to death. But yeah, she's very insistent that Sean Connery is the one and only James Bond. But the thing is, she never sent a message to Roger Moore
Right.
saying that he was a hack and he was one of the worst people ever. So more recently, I got my first ever accusation of being a DEI hire. It was like, oh,
Oh
I
Oh
no.
wow.
I didn't know I was a DEI hire back in 2003 when I was working on Brothers in
Everything.
Arms before. Yeah, it's kind of like it's maybe I got it because they thought that I had the
Mm,
chops to fill it. But there are people that are not going to accept it, and that was rough because you can have 11 billion people can say online you are great, but it's the ones that say that specifically very angrily call you out. It those have like a plus 10, when on
mm,
the hurt power, right? But it
Yeah.
was the first time I went to a convention because I'd been going to conventions as like an attendee since like I was a child. Florida SunCon in Tampa, Florida.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, the first time I was a guest, and when a complete stranger comes up to you and says, "Wow, I loved you as Claptrap," or they'll quote a lot, people loved "My ass is full of stars," and they would want to hear me say it, and I would say it. It's because that's one of my favorite lines too. But it's when you see somebody, a complete stranger, come up to you and say, I, and you can see that they really enjoyed your work. It is better than any therapy or any. It's like to know that, yeah, there are people that are going to hate me, and that's fine, but there are people that you know really enjoyed the work that I've done, and that makes me feel like I'm doing something right. It feels good to know that you know you're bringing joy and entertainment to somebody. It's like it's again,
Hmm.
I would like to leave this planet better than how I arrived. And with any way that I can, holding the door open for somebody, if they've got their hands full of stuff, even if they don't have their hands full of stuff, just to be nice. It's the um, putting a shopping cart that's rolling loose in the parking lot to put it in the corral, or better yet, even bring it in with you when you're going grocery shopping.
Hmm.
It's just I don't. It doesn't hurt to be nice. It takes very
Not
little
at all.
effort.
Not at all. Not at all. It's I like to say, like, we've met so many great people like doing this, and I always say that's like the internet, that going right, because it can go wrong in so many ways. Like somebody like a week or two ago, I put like my top 10 shows of this season as of now, and I didn't have Sentenced to Be a Hero on there, and somebody was so mad at me. He's like, "Okay, Brownie," and I'm just like,
What? What?
like, okay, but see the stuff like that, like it doesn't get me back. I'm kind of like chomping at the bit for that because I'm a natural born troll anyway. So
Yeah,
like when
and
you
that's
say stuff like that to me, it's like, okay,
and
you're
that's
gonna
our
bring me out because
yeah, and that,
they'll tell you I love to argue.
yeah, and that's the irony with the anime community because we're all meta
Yeah,
trolls. Like I did this like 20 years before you did. Like, you're just starting streaming things like that. It's just this is a weird sphere we have with the anime community, but it's also
it's
I get it. I've known those people all my life too, and I've known
it's
those
the
moderators
internet.
all my life, and
Yeah,
that ties in with the internet. Yeah,
It's the
yeah, yeah.
internet, man. People have a
It's
voice
weird.
on social media and they think it means something, and
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't.
like growing up in the 80s is like, nerds used to be like, people are making fun of us for liking this stuff. But,
Hmm.
hey, we could get along because we all like this stuff. It's like,
yeah,
what happened to where like nerds become bullies themselves? Like
Yeah.
what is there
Yeah.
is there no is
yes,
there no this is how I was treated. Why would I want to treat somebody else like that? Why would I
yeah.
want to cause that kind of like, you know, how what happens there? Right?
Yeah, a
I
Gamergate,
don't
for
know.
example, to the Reddit in general. Yeah, it's just
Well,
It's
like
the level
weird
of
180.
entitlement, yeah, the level of entitlement where it's like, if I don't like a change, like, if I prefer the original claptrap to the new claptrap, it's like the entitlement of like, oh, I have to tell you, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah, it's
you
like
have to,
specifically
yeah,
calling. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was one person that was like, it was like 3 years after when Borderlands 3 came out, and somebody like called me and goes, it said, "Hey, I just started playing Borderlands 3, and then at Jim Foronda is the worst claptrap ever. I don't even think I want to keep playing this." And I'm thinking, part of me wanted to go, man, I'm sorry to disappoint such a big fan who's playing the game 3 years after it came out. I didn't
Right.
say that. I didn't say
yeah,
that. But I just said, I said, and it was like because Wonderlands was out, and
Hmm.
I said you should. Oh, you'll probably really enjoy Tiny Tina's Wonderlands because Claptrap is in it a lot less. Smiley face, you know. One person was
Hmm.
talking. Somebody else said a thing about um, you know, uh, about Borderlands 4, and I said you will absolutely love Borderlands 4 because Claptrap has a discrete volume slider, so you could turn him all the way down and not hear him and enjoy the rest of the game. It's like
Yeah.
I've heard all of this in junior high. It's like I
Yeah.
heard
yeah,
I heard all of this growing up.
That's what I mean.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's like I know that there are plenty of people that like my work and they're very kind. I don't even want to give you the time of day anymore. It's like I don't want to waste my time,
It's not worth
you
it.
know, the- you know, feeling bad about what people are saying about me, So it's just
Mm.
I'm just gonna focus on,
Yeah.
people who enjoy the work.
Don't give them the oxygen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all they want. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just searching out like, ooh, he responded to me. Yay. Because 9 times out of 10, if they were to meet you in life or at a convention, they'd be the main ones like, oh, look. They just want a reaction. That's why I don't take if you say it on the internet, to me, it doesn't you're just trying to get a rise out of people on the internet to be like, oh yay, clap, clap, that was funny or whatever. It doesn't
yeah,
mean anything.
yeah.
Because it's like you said that back in the day, the nerds wouldn't say that because they'd get punched in the face.
Yeah, and the thing is, and it's like
Well,
we were like, it's like, it's this being nerds, it's like talking to other nerds. That was kind of like, before the term safe space even occurred, came up. It's
Yes,
like this is where we felt
yes.
comfortable. Again, I loved cons growing up because it was like this is where I can be amongst people who are into the similar things and the same things. Then you'll learn about new stuff that other people love that you've never heard of, and that's why I love it. Was my first time going to a convention. Being on the other side of the table was so weird because I wanted to basically get up and talk to other people, and so basically I will chat with people at my table for like, yeah, I mean, I love ponds. I love it. I love going to them.
yeah.
It's just it's something kind of slow for me this year. So it's
Mm,
like, if anybody wants me at a con, I'm a great
You're like
guest.
I'm there.
we're submitting your
Yeah.
names because we have
Thank you
plenty
very
of them
much.
coming up. We have
I
plenty
am
of them
low
coming up.
maintenance. I am super low maintenance.
Okay, what's
Well,
your convention style? Because we have like all of us are different. Like our friend Martin, he's like chasing around the cosplayers, taking all the pictures, and then Jack,
Ah,
he's like buying everything from Artist Alley because he has his people that's there. It's like okay, he's here. I have to get a print. Like, what's your convention style?
okay, so when I can get away from my table, what I will do
Mm-hmm.
is that I will I like when we're setting up in the morning, before they open up, I will go
Mm-hmm.
around the show floor and I'll look at some of the artist stuff and I'll chat with people and it's like, hey, how's the con going? It's like, and I like seeing different people's artwork, and sometimes I'll go, oh, do you do commissions? And when cosplayers come through at San Diego Comic Con, I would just photograph like this really awesome cosplay. It's
Mm-hmm.
there was it's like every so often you'd see just the coolest thing. There was one guy for years he came as Buddy Jesus from Dogma, and he literally had like the neon halo, and then if you take a picture, he would go,
Oh
he would
wow.
like point and give you the thumbs up,
Uh,
and it was just and it was really cool. And also I like going to people with really obscure cosplay. I'm like, you're the cat with green eyes from Whispers of the Heart, and he's like, you're the only person who knows who I'm supposed to be. He was dressed as the cat with green eyes statue, and I met an Jammer Lammy who again it was like I met a Bucky O'Hare, and he was like,
okay.
I like being one of those people who like can
Mm-hmm.
spot a cosplay and they're so happy when nobody else knows what it is. I love doing that. And behind my table, if anybody walks by like dressed as Midoriya, I will yell at them in Muscular's voice like, "Don't make promises you can't keep," and stuff like that. And kids love it. And it's
That was a good fight in season three. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
man. And another thing that's incredibly cringy that that they'll do is like I'll do like the hey fist bump. Yeah, old guy wanted to do a fist bump, and they'll go okay, and then I go. I can tell people you've been punched by Muscular, and they get such a kick out of it. They're like, okay, that wasn't as cringy as I thought it was. And then, but yeah, it's I love running the show floor and just seeing and talking to artists and it's like you go and as soon as you set foot in the show floor and you just kind of like soak in the energy of just creativity and people loving the stuff that they love. It's yeah, it's but yeah, I basically I do like the shopper's path of like I'm going down this aisle and this aisle and this aisle to make sure I see everything.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
like, and then I'll make note of like, okay, which booth is this? Okay, and I'll make a list of booths I want to revisit if I want to pick something up. It's like, it's yeah, that's my method.
I like that. I like that. It's I'm kind of like into like bringing people to conventions for the first time now. That's kind of like my thing because they brought me to my first convention years ago, and it's been
Yep.
cool. So that's been my thing. And like I know Edwin's favorite story is when Kyle transformed during the convention.
Oh my God. Dude, that kid, how how he became Sakuna, I'm just like every time I saw him, I'm like, oh my God, he's transforming into this character. It was one of the coolest things ever.
He came in. I think his sister like did the paint the drawings on his face for him, and he just
Hmm.
had that. And I think he had his hair dyed, and it was just like that. And then
Yeah.
like he would run off, and we would see him like an hour later, and there was something else on.
Yep.
And then he'd run off again,
Yep.
and
There's
then
the
he could like,
kimono. There's the sword. There's the shoes. Yep.
and he had
Total
everything.
transformation.
Total. And then by the end of the convention, like people were taking pictures of him. Like, can I get a picture with you? I'm like, this is not the guy that we walked in here with.
Oh,
This is not
he
it.
embraced it so hard.
So yeah, it's fun. So we got our buddy Tyler. We convinced him to come to Anime Central with us in May. So it's going to be like his first big convention. So we're like super excited about that.
It's always fun. My mother-in-law
Mm,
we took her to IkiCon, and it was kind of cool because I've known my wife and I met in high school, and so it's like I've known her mom for
mm,
as long as I've known her, and she's like like my third mom. I got my mom, my stepmom, and
mm.
then my third mom. It's like my mom died. My stepmom, is still
Sorry
with
to
us,
hear
and
that.
so is my it was a while back. It was
Yeah.
yeah, it's but yeah, I still have two moms left, and and the first time she ever saw like a convention, and she was like a sixth grade teacher and an art major in school,
Mm,
and she was just everybody's so creative and all those costumes, and it's
mm,
and then she saw us do a panel, and she got to see what I do now instead of write commercials and ads,
mm,
and yeah, so it was nice to make her proud. It was it's like you always want the grown-ups in your life, even though we're adults now. It's like you always want them to be happy with what you're doing, and it
mm.
was it was it was very special for her to be at a convention to see what that's like.
It is. It is. Like I brought my wife and my daughter went to the convention with us last year, and like my baby will be 2 in May. So
Oh my
she was
gosh.
like she was just 1 at the time, but she's sitting around in the stroller, and like we're walking by, she's just like grabbing on to everything. And, and she's hamming it up. And we were lucky enough to have a panel, and like she was there at the panel, but she was making a lot of noise, so her mom like took her out. And like people in there they were like, where'd she go? She was like our little mascot. They're like, where did she go? Where did she go? And this one lady, like, we were at a booth like buying something, and she was like, oh, there she is. That's what we were missing her. It was like she created a fan in like 2 minutes that she was sitting there. And so it's always a fun experience, just like being at those conventions, because you never know what's going to happen. You
Was
ne-
there
You
was there
take her.
anything?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, good.
Well, if he
I was,
take he bought a little Nesco-chan outfit for
oh yeah,
her,
yeah,
and if
yeah,
he
yeah.
takes her in that, then it's over.
She had Nesco one day, and
Yeah.
then she had her Grogu outfit and her Grogu hat the other day, because that was the day
that's
we did
Okay.
good.
the Star Wars panel. And
Okay.
then
Hey,
mhm,
hey, at San Diego Comic-Con one year, this a guy went with his son, like it was a toddler son, as Master Blaster from Thunderdome.
uh,
Oh wow.
that's awesome.
And yeah, golly, there was a dad and daughter who went as Axton and Tiny Tina one year, and the mom wasn't in costume, but she made the costumes,
Mm,
and it was like I don't love seeing families like go to cons. Was there any cosplay or anything that she kind of gave that toddler baby side eye, like I don't know about this. This might be scary. You know what I mean? Like I love everything.
She was cool with everything. Like
Everything,
she
really?
was she was into at the time she was really into Teletubbies.
Oh
And
wow!
somebody did like a Teletubby cosplay, but it was like a horror type thing.
Like zombie.
It was kind of like zombie-ish or
Yeah,
whatever. And
yeah.
like she took a picture with my wife and the guy, and she was just sitting there like hamming it up.
That is amazing.
She's a natural ham anyway. So she she was just hamming it up. The only thing that scares her is like she doesn't like things that like move too fast. She doesn't
Like
like things that
skittery
move.
things like
Yeah,
yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah. Or like animals that's supposed to. If you're an animal, she's cool. But if you're a human in like an animal costume and you like pretending like
Ah,
for Halloween, like their little they had a teacher come in and she had a cow outfit. And when she
yeah.
was standing up, it was all cool. But when she got down on all fours, she was like, whoa, whoa. And she lost her mind. She lost her mind. So it
When
just,
she gets older, you need to introduce her to
yeah.
the Animorphs books, just so to get rid of that fear.
I
Oh,
I
yeah.
try to like introduce her to little things like I give her little tidbits and stuff. Like she was very into solo leveling. I think it was
Really?
just the flash and the fights. She was really into that. Um, and we watched. She was into cats, so we watched that Night of the Living Cats, and she.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah,
That was
it
fun.
was fun. It was fun. It
I
was
was I
so cheesy, but it was so fun. It was like 70 B movie.
and what's great is that so Jeremy Inman, who directed us in Wistoria, and he said,
Mm,
here's the thing, we are not hamming this up. Everybody is playing it dead serious. There's no like,
mm,
oh no, the cats. I mean, he wanted everybody to act like,
yes,
no, the cats, that type of thing, like dead serious, and that makes it a million times.
it did.
It
Yeah.
makes it work. Yeah, it's
It did. It
I
worked.
got to be in a few episodes of that. The grocery store manager.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the guy he was referred to as Eastwood because he kind of looks like Clint Eastwood. And like a couple episodes later, that show was so much fun.
It was a fun show. And she'd just be like, cats? Cats? And then my wife would be like, what are you watching? And then I'd be like, it's her show. This is the cat show.
Night of the Living Cat.
This Night of the
Well,
Living Cat. She just likes it because it's cats.
Ironically, it's people turning into cats, which would
Yes.
normally terrify her.
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
It'll be
That
normal for her.
that
Yeah.
was right over her head. It was just she saw all the cats and hear the cat meows. That was it. That
He was
she
like,
was
yeah.
sold.
Watching that show here, it's like all the cats, if you got cats, they're like, where's
Mm.
that cat sound coming from? I don't recognize that. Yeah, it's so
Mm. That's something. It was nice too because we had to get rid of our cat because she was starting to
oh
like go. She was like after she was born, she just started like spazzing out
yeah.
and doing stuff. So like I think she has like vague memories of the cat, but it was like when seeing the cats on screen, she was all into it.
Yeah.
So it was really really cool. And so, I'm glad my wife isn't here because if she saw your cats in the background, she would have freaked out too. So, because she loves cats and she's like so heartbroken over having to give that cat up that she's like, I'm not having any more pets. She secretly wants one. she
Oh yeah.
she
In due
secretly
time.
wants one.
In due
She
time.
We all
secretly
know. We
wants
all
one.
know. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we'll end up getting another one soon. No, because she's old enough now. So, um, this was a wonderful chat. Thank
It's
you.
been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's been a lot of fun.
we're definitely going to have you on again
Thank you so
because
much. Yeah.
we didn't even touch like a quarter
I
of your career.
I'm
So
so sorry. I just keep I ramble and I ramble
no,
and I
No,
just
no,
it's
oh
okay.
gosh.
No, dude.
that's what we
Don't
do.
apologize. It was great.
I
Yeah.
I promise you this when I say we can ramble, we can ramble. Like doing
Yeah.
4 hours of content is nothing to us. Like that's a light day. So it's just we're glad that our like schedules aligned so that we could get this done, because this is like only the second interview Edwin's been able to do just because his work schedule has been so crazy.
Yeah,
And
I was
so
glad I was able to make it because there's a
mm,
lot of there's things going on right now that I'm thinking I might not be able to do this, but I was like, oh, good, I can. So yeah,
this was
We're glad you
super
could.
duper
Yeah.
fun.
yeah, me too.
Super duper fun. We're definitely going to have you back. We're definitely going to try to get you to one of our conventions this year, because
That would be
I think
great.
we got about 4 or 5 of them coming up in the next few months. So
Yeah.
I've
there's
never been to
something
Chicago.
coming up.
That'd be like really cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna we're gonna make sure
and
you get there.
yeah, especially with the Gundam store.
Oh yeah, we're gonna make sure
Yeah,
you get there.
yeah.
We're gonna make sure you get there. But before we leave, we got to ask you the question we ask everybody:
Yes.
who do you think we should interview next? But the caveat is, you got to put in a good word for us. You got to
I
put in a
will
good word for us.
I will recommend a friend who I've actually built Gundam with, and he just got a lead in oh my God, so here I am, William Ofebu.
Okay.
He's in that show. He's the blue dog man, and he falls in love with a human girl in the name of the show. It's a
Oh
show where like
Oh,
yeah.
there are
me and
animal
Yeah.
you.
people, and I can't. My brain
What's
is
that show
failing
called?
me.
I know what you're talking about. It has a long title. Me and you, or what is
Oh
that
Edwin.
my
show
God.
called?
I I cannot
It
believe
was it was it was it was it was a winter season show.
Yeah. I don't remember the title,
Um,
but I did watch. I did watch the first few episodes of that. Yeah.
yeah, he is
Yep.
our love with
yes,
you, our
with
love
you,
will
our
make it
love will
through.
make it
Yeah,
through. With you, our love will make it through.
he's the male lead in that. He's the blue dog man. And
Okay,
it's like I
okay.
was so happy for him. I'm like, "Oh my God, you are perfect for that role." It's yeah, he just I mean, he's got this really natural deep voice. Um and I'll he was also a teacher. You know what? I'm not even saying anything about him. He's a super cool guy. And I will put in a good word for you. I will let him know. It's like, hey, I just had an interview at it's 950 Club, right? Yeah,
950 Club.
950.
it's
Right.
the
950.
950
Yep.
Club podcast, and they said, who do you recommend somebody? And I recommended you. They're really cool. So
All right. You
yeah,
know what?
he's a nice guy. He's super cool.
We got William. We got you on the clock. We're we're
All
we're
right.
we're, we're coming after you. So once again, thank you, Jim, for talking with us. We're definitely going to have you back. I promise you that. But in the
I would be
meantime,
happy. You could divide it up. This episode, we're going to be talking about Hasbro and toys. Next
There
episode,
you
we're
go.
going to be talking. Yeah, there. I mean, yeah, it's like
Part
you could.
one.
we
Yeah, there.
will.
I mean, it's yeah. I could talk for hours.
We could definitely, because like Edwin
Jim and Edwin
constantly
build Lego.
refers.
Yep.
Oh yes, we can
Edwin
talk
is
about Lego
always
as well.
talking about
Yeah,
that.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's the Netflix show that you talk about all the time, Edwin? The toy show.
The toys that
toys
made
Uh,
that
us.
made us.
yes, the toys that
Oh
made
yeah.
us. He
I love
brings
that
that up
show.
so many times.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's crazy
Well,
because
yeah.
like whenever they have the Hasbro shows, and before I'll wrap this up, because they focus so much on the '80s stuff.
Mhm.
Um, none of my work has showed up in anything except in the Star Wars episode where they talk about stuff later on. You'll see like 1.5 seconds of the clone turbo tank from place the clone turbo tank playset vehicle. It's like coming through
Mhm.
like this tiny Moss diorama. That's one of my commercials. And I had like a
Hey,
fraction of one of my commercials made into the toys that made us in the Star Wars episode. Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, that's like so that's a big thing that Edwin talks about all the time. Just because again, like you can't see his figures, but his figure collection is incredible. Jack's his
I
too.
totally get you. I get you on
Yeah,
that, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
surprised
got
he didn't have anything out, because Jack set me up last time by having his Sagiri out when we interviewed Marissa. And he totally stole the show when he did that.
Oh
Little
yeah.
cheater.
The Liger Zero X my Zoids commercial is still
Mhm.
in my display cabinet back there.
That's awesome.
Oh
It's
wow.
Yeah,
stuffy to see it.
it's
Yeah,
yeah,
but here's yeah.
he's the
by
other ones.
Brickhead's Bumblebee.
Oh,
Yeah.
Brickhead's Bumblebee. Oh man.
Edwin,
Yep.
don't you have
I
Yep.
a Funko chair, claptrap?
No, no, I don't have that one. I have
Ah,
the
dang.
actual. Jamal actually got me the actual figure when
Mm.
oh my God, what's the toy company?
was it
McFarlane.
this McFarlane that
Hmm.
Yeah,
NECA made one like very early. Yeah, I've got the McFarlane one. They came with the different hats. The for
yeah,
pre-sequel.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
yep.
actually I he appears in cameos sometimes because I when I do
Nice.
cameos I will I
Hmm.
basically I could do the hey it's me blah 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 but I like doing skits. It's like if somebody's going to be paying me for
There's
something, it's
something.
like I want to I do little
Yeah.
skits for my kids.
Nice.
That's cool. That's really cool. Like a
Yeah.
little extra something for the people that spend the money on the cameo. That's dope.
Like sometimes people ask for roasts, but the thing is, Claptrap is terrible at roasts, and he'll accidentally compliment people, and it's like, yeah, and he just gets it wrong. Yeah, it's
Mm, Claptrap is hilarious. He's
Yeah.
hilarious. Well, we definitely want to provide this opportunity for you to plug yourself, your social
okay.
media, whatever shows you want people to watch, anything. Now the floor is yours to put yourself over.
Well, thank you. You can find me on Twitter at Jim Foronda and on Instagram, which I don't post as often as I should. And Blue Sky. I'm also on Facebook with a Jim Foronda voice actor page, but you know what? It's Facebook. Trying to use that now, it's like it's a pain in the ass. So I
It
don't.
is.
You know what? Forget I even said that I'm on Facebook. It's like it's pointless. You know what? I've got a bunch of season twos coming out this year. I've got Wistoria, Wand and Sword season two coming
Hmm.
in April, and then we've got 100 Girlfriends season three happening. Uh, freaking Trapped in a Dating Sim season two is happening sometime in 2026.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
I think Blue Lock season three, maybe. I don't know. They haven't said like a
I don't
specific date,
know.
but the Neo
Right.
Egoist League stuff is going to start happening, and
Yes.
and
Yes.
Yukimiya and yeah, Kenyo and Isagi, man, they're good. They're going to have it out on the field. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to yelling at Rico.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. I just hope the production is better.
You know,
Because season
it,
two was a little rough, but the whole controversy was really interesting
yeah. It's I will
to
say
watch unfold.
the art, the actual art in season two
Yeah.
was beautiful.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
the cost of animating that artwork was probably just like out the freaking window. But then it's okay. Y'all want to see animation? Here's the last episode. Man,
Mm.
that fight because like
Right.
I see I
Yeah.
loved the way it looked. I just thought it was like a stylistic choice, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's like it's I didn't mind it. I'm heavily biased though. I'm heavily biased for Blue Lock. It's like
Mm.
but man, that last episode was just
Amazing. It was
it.
amazing.
Oh God, it was just like
It was amazing.
bananas,
It's like
bananas.
it felt
Yeah,
like they blew the budget on that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the movie was good too. I liked the Nagi movie. So like and
yeah.
I'm not even a soccer
This
fan.
like
I'm not a soccer fan at all, but I love this show.
man, the live action. I'm hoping, even though because it's season one, it's the early, but that
Yeah.
live action Blue Lock, unless Yukimiya and the rest of like the top five show up like at the end, but I really hope that I hope it gets a dub, and
I hope so.
I hope like the anime crew gets to dub it. You know what I mean? It's because that would be great.
That'll be cool. That'll be
Yeah.
cool. And it should be. I mean, it's something that can be. I think it'll translate fairly well. I mean, you're gonna have to
Have you
throw a little.
that trailer? I mean, because that trailer, it's like we're doing the Marvel thing where it's like
Mm,
they're gonna have the same costumes. We're gonna have the anime effects. It's like why try to make something if it's got real people in it? Why change it? It's
right.
like it. I
Right.
mean that trailer has me very very hyped up for it, and I'm hoping that they just land it because it just looks cool.
I haven't even seen the trailer yet. I wanted to be surprised. I wanted to
It's
be
it
surprised.
it's it I'm telling you, like the guy that plays Ego, I mean,
Mm. I
looks
saw I
perfect.
saw like a
Yeah,
picture of Ego, and that
yeah,
was really good casting. Yeah.
to hear, to hear Derek's voice come out in the dub would just be amazing. Yeah,
That would be cool. That would be
yeah.
cool. I hope they do that. That'll be nice.
I would
That'll be
love it.
Yeah.
I
awesome.
would love it. I wouldn't even
That'll be
be in it,
awesome.
but I would love it.
Hey man, you never know if it because Blue Lock is really popular and it's starting to cross over into
It
pop culture too. So
Yeah, it's pretty massive. It's like it's got, how like the World Cup is coming to Malice,
hmm
and it's
hmm
like it's I don't know. It's like we're thinking, do, do you think we'd be able to get? There's no way in hell we're gonna be able to get tickets, but it's just kind of cool because it would be fun to do some sort of like Blue Lock tie-in with something. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
This should be. I mean, that'll be really cool. That'll be really cool. I don't see why that somebody's got to think it's somebody's got to be thinking of that.
Yeah.
Somebody has to.
Yeah.
With
Because
especially
that
in
would
the
be,
area,
yeah.
like you gotta
Yeah.
somebody got to be smart enough to pitch that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Rico and Drew, I mean, they love soccer. It's like they got the actual Japan's World Cup kit, the one that was actually
hmm
cross promoted with the mangaka of Blue Lock.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and it's like they got, Isagi and Bachir on the backs with their
hmm
numbers, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so jealous. And because by the time, because it's like for Yukimiya has like three different numbers, like depending on which season it is. I'm like, I wouldn't even
hmm
know which number to get. So, but I want to get. It's like, do they make soccer jerseys in big fat guy sizes? I don't know. It's like, can I get one? Will it fit? It's
You never know.
I'd love to get a Yuki jacket, yeah, or Yuki jersey, but
That'll be
I,
cool.
I keep dragging this on, man. I'm sorry.
No,
You're
it's all
Oh
okay.
right.
gosh.
You're
We we
okay.
we keep dragging it on too. But that's why we got to have a part two. That's all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
We're gonna have a part two. You're gonna be like our very first like return.
I would be honored to do so because I could talk with you guys for hours. Holy
Uh,
moly.
the honor will be all ours. Trust me. But again, thank you for your time. You were
Thank you.
incredible. We're
Thanks,
gonna
Jim. It was
have you
awesome.
on
Yeah.
again soon. I promise. Like we said, there's going to be a link below for you to donate for the cause. Support people to support the research that's going on because we want to help as much as we can. Every little dollar counts.
One more
And
thing about the Fossman Lab. I don't mean to
mhm,
cut you off.
that's
The
okay.
reason why they
Please.
started, the reason why they started with type 1 diabetes is because numerically it's easy to track. You can actually see how it is stopping this autoimmune disease. The theory is that once this is approved, they would be able to modify the vaccine to target other autoimmune diseases, like again, like Crohn's disease or eczema or arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, all those different autoimmune diseases. This is just the launching point for cures for all of them. So
Wonderful.
Wow. Yeah, that is wonderful.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. And I think that's the best place to stop.
Yeah.
So for me, for Jack, for Edwin, for the esteemed Jim, we're here to say thank you, and we're out.
thank you.
Arigato.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Konbawa.
Jack with his little